This is my jolly laugh. Ho ho ho. Oh ho ho. Oh ho ho ho. Oh ho. Look at my jolly face. Look at my jolly cheeks. Oh. Oh ho. Ho ho ho. Ho ho ho. Let's talk about physiognomy. And like someone in the chat was like, oh, Kyle has he has like this pointy mischievous little this cold face, and like I have like a big warm face. Ho 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 ho. So, shall we begin the stream? Oh man. Alright, time for some epic content. You know what's a good channel is Rakita Law. Nick Rakita. That's an interesting channel. He's got some cool insights. I was just watching his stream recently. Hello, Controlled Opposition. How are you doing? Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about polygamy. There's some interesting stuff to be discussed there. Add me on Google Hangouts using babylonianhebrew@gmail.com, and I'd love to have a hangout with you sometime. So you called into the Morny show, the Matt Forney show. Yeah. Man, I need some good ideas of like places to be with TTS on. Times Square? Should I walk around Times Square with text-to-speech on? Or would that just be a waste of time? The Women's March was good. I wish there were more rallies and stuff, because surprisingly, New York is not Portland, okay? There is not a rally here every week. Not even at like Union Square. No. I mean, they're few and far between. You got your May Day. I mean, there was the age of BLM rallies, and those were really going on for a while. But that was like a block of rallies, and same with the Trump ones. And now there really isn't, much going on as far as rallies and protests. So I don't know where to go. Walk around. Is that a yes to walk around Times Square with TTS on? Because I can do that. I could do that. Is that what you're saying yes to, or something else? Watch me get hit by a car on live stream. Here we go. Yeah. I do it. What I need to do is I need to figure out a way to get the non-donation chat to make noise, so that everything that everyone says gets read out in public. Because at the moment, not many people are very willing to donate. So, I've got a small channel. I could do it on the Babylonian Hebrew channel, but I liked this channel because it's a bit shitposty. So I've only got 200 subs. No one really wants to donate with the TTS, so I need to find a way how to make Streamlabs mobile read out every single message that everyone says. And I don't know how to do it. I could get hurt. No one's going to hurt me. I'm a big man, you don't understand. Trust me, I've been approached in New York. Nobody's stepping to me. Ho ho ho. Ho ho ho. No one will step to me. Ho ho. Ho ho ho. Yeah, I know. I'm saying, like, no matter what my phone's saying, first of all, I'm a Jew. You just be like, I'm a Jew, fuck off. Second of all, if it says some, like, offensive shit, some people try to go after me. First of all, it'll all be on tape. Second of all, it'll be epic content. And third of all, I personally, unlike many people in the city, I actually relish and I look forward to people attempting to start street fights with me and mug them. Because I had one experience wherein I actually stole money from a mugger's wallet who thought he could get away with pulling a fast one on me, but smacked him, and I walloped him, and I came away from that encounter the victor. So I relish the confrontation, Legally speaking, once someone beats you up, you can do a lot of stuff to them. Or at the very least, they won't, they can't say it, they can't, it's not like they can run to the, the NYPD and be like, oh, so I punched this guy in the face, but then he stole my wallet. After he punched me back, it's like, no, you can't really say that. Anyway, BRB, hold on.
Let's talk about how when I hear ASMR, like I don't understand how people like ASMR. It makes me want to punch someone. Like when I hear like there's like some girl going in the microphone like it's like fuck. I hate that. I hate that stuff so much. It's terrible content. It's drowning YouTube. You know, if I wanted to make money on YouTube tomorrow, it would be, Fortnite ASMR, primitive survival, urban exploration channel. No. ASMR is so infuriating. I just got a sponsored ad on YouTube that was a Michelob beer commercial with ASMR. It's like, shh, let's experience something. I hate that. Does anyone else hate ASMR? Like, it gives me chills, but not in a good way. In the same way that I find it highly unpleasant when, let's say, I'm being tickled by, like, when I was younger, by a parent, or like when I've been in relationships and someone tickled me. I hated it. It was a horrible feeling. It's a bad feeling. And when I hear ASMR, it's horrible, and I'm hypersensitive to it. So I'll hear like the little, and I'll instantly want to wallop someone in the face just because it's so annoying. Am I the only one who thinks this? If the mugger has a knife or a gun, then you can survive most gun wounds. I would be more worried if a mugger had a knife than if a mugger had a gun, if I'm being perfectly honest. The thing is, I would never say like I carry any sort of illegal thing like a knife on my person in New York City, but usually I try to prepare myself for situations as such. But yeah, you get ads for hijabs. Interesting. Like for the buying of hijabs. I don't know. So I hate ASMR, and I just got the Michelob Ultra ASMR commercial. Awful stuff. Yeah, anyway, I guess that's the content of the stream. Bye, everyone. How do I feel when I hear Ram Ranch? I feel good when I hear Ram Ranch. It's a funny song. It's jolly. 13, was it 7 Naked Cowboys? I don't remember the number. 8, 16 Naked Cowboys. Yeah. Like a breed of ram wanting to rut. I don't feel that bad when I hear Ram Ranch. You thought I was gone, eh? Well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm watching this ad from the Capital Research Center
that would lead the government to revoke a school's federal funding,
about Title IX.
bankrupting the school. A preponderance of evidence.
This is so lame. It took them half the video to get to the fucking part about saying like it's based on a preponderance of evidence, which is like the key point about why it's retarded. But first they were talking about, the sports teams got cut. Fuck out of here. It's such bullshit. Yeah, these capitalist chills can blow me if I'm being perfectly frank. BRB. Listen, I have stuff to do, but I want to keep this stream going. Okay, I'm dedicated to the epic content, lads. Yeah, that's what I say to the capitalist chills. Woo! Everyone should subscribe to the channel Grizzly Jr. He's a very amusing fellow. I'm not drunk. Nonsense. I had a drink. I'm just a lightweight. I was out tonight with someone who I'm about to buy a property in Long Island, like by where do you call it? Like by where do you call it? Where do you call it? Sort of in the area just shy of the Hamptons, around there. Been watching too much Kang Ball. How did you know that I was watching Kang Ball? I was literally just watching basketball highlights earlier. Micro Streamer Coalition. Dream of mat fornication. Long Island. Long Island, yeah. Long Island. What should I talk about? I don't know what to talk. Long Island. Long Island. What should I talk about? What should I talk about? I don't know, man. I want to make a response to queer culture. All right, I'll talk about queer culture. I don't have anything to say about it. I don't really have much to say about it. Yeah. I think it's an interesting topic, but I think queer drama in Lucosphere. I think that queer culture is, it's more interesting rather than talking about it itself, qua itself. I think it's more interesting to talk about cabin in the Hamptons. There are cabins in the Hamptons. No, I'm not in a cabin in the Hamptons. It would be a house, and cabins are nice. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure if the Hamptons has a lot of cabins. I'd want a cabin probably like on a mountain or in the woods or something like that. 30,000 word book will be out next week. Oh, I'm looking forward to that, Pill Eater. Pill Eater, I think that, I think that you have some really hot takes. Good stuff, man. Am I living in Flatbush? Yes, I am. How did you know? Specifically in the neighborhood that some like to call Prospect Lefferts Garden, much to the chagrin of many I'm a proud Flatbusher. And, there's this big gentrification issue in the neighborhood that's interesting. There was actually an anti-gentrification march that happened recently. And there were these two blogs. One was called The Q on Parkside, and the other was, Corner Store Caroline. Anyone know Corner Store Caroline, that meme? It's like this meme of like, there's this white woman and a coat, brushed against her hind end. And, she said, oh, it's abuse, it's, sexual harassment, your child just groped me in the ass, Yeah, that happened right just shy of where I live, so it's interesting. In fact, it happened like a mere 2-minute walk from where I live, if I'm not mistaken, or less even. Aphex Twin at Avant Gardener in April. Ooh, I should check that out. If you go, I'll go. I'm very interested in that. Let's see. Yeah, you want me to talk? All right, I'll give you something to Church of Entropy. You wanted me to talk about Luke Ford stream drama? Well, specifically, I'm thinking about right now Kyle and the fact that everyone's getting very triggered by Kyle, and I understand why they're getting very triggered by him. Is because he's so systems based. He is such a systems based, like, for his vision for society is so incredibly it's the the concept of Gemeinschaft and Gesellschaft, the Ferdinand Tönnies idea. I can't remember which is which. I never can, but I think that that's an idea that ought to be employed in discourse with Kyle, because I think it's something that's worth noting. People are so busy about who's left wing and who's right wing, even though these terms have basically lost all value and meaning. People are so busy thinking about that they forget that there are other axioms, there are other sort of or axes, there are other along which people can be analyzed, because of course Kyle is Kyle in the sort of like Anglo-American thing, the historical right. The right wing of America is very much in line with the sort of, the Kylean kind of manner of thinking. In America, the quote right wing is, at least today, like as far as I know, almost inseparable from, at least coming from the perspective of someone in the modern context who's only been on this planet for like 20 years or so. It's like, to me, American capitalism. The American right wing is inextricably linked to all these things that I view as like, in a classical kind of reactionary sense, not being right wing at all, like, free market trade and, hyper, what's it called? This hyper, this obsession with profit, this obsession with capitalism, and it's all kind of imbued with this, Weber writes about this borderline kind of, it's the Protestant ethic. It's this ideal of, what is a good person? A good person is not only is a good person a hard-working person, and not only is work inherently a moral good, but a good person is a wealthy person, and Duvid was actually talking about this earlier and saying that, he believes this to be a Jewish idea. The idea that, wealth manifesting itself within someone, or someone being wealthy, but more specifically someone earning or accruing wealth is an inherent, that is in and of itself is an inherent sign of, divine light shining upon that person, and thus, that is a goodness, that makes one virtuous. And I think it's interesting. Kyle talks about virtuous. The billionaires are the most virtuous people. Well, if you're calling virtue, if you think having money or earning money makes one virtuous, then maybe, quote, the billionaires are the most virtuous people. But I don't think that, if you're necessarily, another thing Kyle was getting at is sort of intelligence is virtue, but I don't think the billionaires are the most intelligent people. I think the billionaires are the people who have the most intelligent people working for them a lot of the time, but I don't think the billionaires are the most intelligent people. I don't even think that, the millionaires, the billionaires, the millionaires, the elite, it's such imprecise terminology, but I just feel like, the wealthy people aren't the people who, first of all, the wealthy people aren't, including the self-made wealthy, aren't the people who are the most brilliant. No, not at all, not at all. They're the people who have, navigated the pre-existing system. Well, I was literally just earlier tonight, a few moments ago, talking to my friend, and he's saying, my parents want me to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an academic. They don't want me to go into real estate. I want to go into real estate, but they don't want me to go into real estate. He comes from quite an affluent background, but he was talking about how my family wants me to become a doctor, or a lawyer, or an academic, and he's certainly not, or at least most likely not going to make as much money as a doctor or a lawyer or an academic as he would, doing what he's actually interested in, which is going into real estate. So I just think it's very, there are a lot of interesting things to take into account here. And I'd say that, while the billionaires, I think a large portion of people today who are billionaires and very successful, the financially, the monetary elite, many of them are, some of the most intelligent people. I think the majority of the most intelligent people, however we're going about quantifying this, I think most of the most intelligent people, in fact, most of the intelligent people, I would say, probably aren't necessarily successful. So I don't know. I think that, in fact, specifically if we're talking about the most intelligent, I would say a good portion of them aren't successful. And this isn't just because of choices necessarily they make in their life. I think that there are a whole bunch of factors that go into this. And I was talking about the hyper brain, hyper body theory a while back. And I think that that's something interesting that's worth taking a look at. Hold on. Let's see. Rev this talk. Judas Star High says, hi. Hi, John Harris. Hi, Judas. Babs, you need to read Brett Stevens stuff on anti-work. I've seen a bit of that, and it looks interesting. Yeah, I'm pretty anti-work at the moment, as things presently stand. My S1 donation brought me immense e-fame. Yeah, your name is now plastered all over, running around my stream. Pit leader's autobiography about reluctantly smashing pussy. New England over New York? Maybe. I don't know. I'm going to start modding everyone in this chat. I don't know how to do it. It's not letting me mod you, Pit Leader. Well, let's see. KMG spin-off show. Kyle is capitalist right with HBD added in. Kyle is the autistic Jonah Goldberg, an image that King Kush sends, and I can't read it. I fully embrace Kylanetics. We must sterilize everyone with an IQ less than 145 or an income less than 200K. All right, DB Cooper, fair enough then. Yeah. Fair enough. That's Kylanetics. Let's see. Society above self. Society above self. Tax the plutocrats. Interesting. Hey, Judas, we were just Cabin Hamptons. That's like Hampton Brandon. I should become the next Hampton Brandon. I'm Jewish Hampton Brandon. It's like Jewish Andy. See, I would become Jewish Andy with the CX people, but Ice Poseidon's already Jewish Andy. He's 25% Hebrew, 25% Yid. So I can't be Jewish Andy. Ice Poseidon's already Jewish Andy. That is truly transgressive. Anti-work ideology. Rat life. Not if you accumulate wealth. The moral thing to do is to use it to benefit society, not to fatten your own wallet. But yeah, it seems like once some people get a taste of the cheese, they just want more and more and more. And quite frankly, I can't blame them, in many ways. I read a study where they tested academics, and the highest IQ PhDs were, I think, in physics and philosophy. Interesting. That's very interesting. I've actually heard similar things about both of those fields. Kyle argued pro-usury a few months ago. Luke says he agrees with most of what Kyle says. Yeah, I think that Luke does fundamentally come from a very similar place to where Kyle comes from. I think that, and this is something that, people will say, oh, well, I think Luke really was, sympathetic to some sort of I guess, like nativist positions or, other types of positions in the past. But no, at least as far as I see, there was always at least a very strong tinge of this kind of IQ fetishism within Luke's thinking. And I don't mean this as an insult to him, but, it's like this very much you're a loser, you're a marginalized person, this IQ thing. And I mean, I've heard some people say that Luke's determinism, like, quote, comes from the fact that now, you know, he's a bit later in his life, or he's coming to terms with the fact that he's a bit later in his life, and he's sort of like he's kind of like not making excuses for himself, but he prefers a more deterministic form of thinking, so because it, I guess, takes him off the hook, as it were. And maybe that's the case, but I don't know, maybe that's being a bit uncharitable. I want to need more blood sports too. I used to host some great blood sports on my channel, but I just haven't had time to do those big long streams anymore, unfortunately. Read works by Crime Think. It's a good argument about anti-work. Yeah, I'll take a look into that. I think there are a lot of good arguments about anti-work. A lot. Let's see. If you accumulate wealth, the moral thing to do is to use it to benefit society. Well, yeah, I guess I'll be concluding this, and I'll be picking up this stream in a few minutes. So take care, everyone. Nice talking to you. The key to the system is that if you have a job, if you're an employee, someone's making money off of you. If you're an employee, by definition, someone is taking your shekels, and basically you're a loser and you're a marginalized person. No, you're not a marginalized person, but the key is, well, if everyone did this, I think the system might collapse. But the key is, if you want to negotiate the present system, you need to not be an employee. See, most of the smartest people I know are employees. They're working. You know, their high IQ and their hard work and their good discipline is going to making some fat cat who's dumber than them wealthy. Hold on. Pill Eater says, I worked for UPS, Home Depot, Toys R Us, Wawa, Petco, and that was just 16 months of it. Damn, dude. See, that's the thing. It's like, I want to give Pill Eater, like, a grant. I want to put Pill Eater on the UBI so that he can, or give him an artistic grant so that he can just create. Pill Eater doesn't need to work it. Pill Eater, I wish I was a fat cat. I will be soon. But, at the same time, I don't. Because, like, I mean, I wish I was, because one can say that because they're, like, profiting in the current situation, and yeah, having money makes you feel good, but it's like, at the same time, do you really want to be? But the thing is, the present situation rewards it, and there are even so many ideologies. You have the Kylian view, and then you have the Davidian view, and you have all the people. The mainstream view in America is basically, work is morally good, and money is an indicator of moral goodness. Yeah. Pill Eater says he stayed in New Brunswick and with Al and hanged out with Mitski. Better time than work. The fact of the matter is, Pill Eater should be able to do that all the time. Pill Eater doesn't have to work at Wawa's. I mean, frankly, we could get a machine to automatically, a little robotic hand to pick the burger up at Wawa's, flip it upside down, the burger goes down, it's on the grill, and the automatic hand delivers it out to the customer, and the customer inserts their credit card. And Pill Eater just needs to, but the thing is, the present system, it doesn't want to give Pill Eater a bunch of extra shekels. It wants Pill Eater to pay for his own grad school, and I think that's a load of bollocks. The Lion of Babylonian Hebrew Society grant. I got to become a Talmud Chacham, Babs. How? The thing is, like, how do I even begin? And herein lies the rub, Worse, healthcare. Dude, healthcare, I don't even know, man. We should just have those Elysium pods. If anyone's seen Elysium, we should just have those pods where you just step into it, you lie there for a moment, and let's say you got your arm shot off, just get sort of reformed, and all your cancers heal and stuff like that. We have the technology. It's just that medical companies want to get money off of sick and dying people. Or I'm not sure if we do have the technology, but I don't trust everything. Once the profit motive comes in, everything is all fishy. It's all bad, That's why even I would arguably posit that some sort of universal humanist end goal, is almost like less toxic and less conducive to the degeneration of both civilization and tradition, but also the degeneration of creativity and artistry. Capitalism kills art, it kills the vision. Capitalism bolsters design, and in many ways capitalism does help innovation, but it also smashes and tramples much of other types of innovation. So it's like, and it's interesting. And I'm thinking now, I don't think capitalism is the sole catalyst of innovation. Like, if I'm thinking about, I think most inventions have probably come from like a utilitarian or military context that isn't even like this kind of capitalist thing. It's almost like a military thing. Orthodox Union assigned me an accommodating rabbi. What if Judas is an elaborate troll? Well, I don't know. What if Judas is an elaborate troll? That's a good question. Sell Magic Online booster pack for $13,000? That's good, man. That's good. I like that. I have a bunch of old Pokemon cards. I think some of them may be fairly damaged, but I have some very, very old Pokemon cards. Binders and binders full of them from when I was younger. Capitalism fulfills the desires of the lowest common denominator. The sublime is deemed useless. Yes, I would agree, Mr. Daniel. Because it's unquantifiable, and I hate the kind of like systems based, like quantification based manner of thinking. I really like there's so much we have to learn. I just wanna frolic around in nature. It was an unopened alpha pack, and a few of them. I have some unopened Pokemon packs right there, actually, as a matter of fact. Let me see if they're still there. I can't seem to find them. I think they're in storage, but I did manage to find this cool hat. Judas, do you like it? Judas, is this how you want Judas to dress? Do you like it? Do you like it, Judas? I have like unopened packs from like the age of like whatever, like Diamond and something. It's like back when those big like golem things were like super legit. Like whatever you call them, like there were these elemental Pokemon, and they were like they had these weird eyes on them, like Regirock or something like that. I forget. And there was a whole series of them. There was like a water one and whatnot, and I have like Pokemon stuff from then. The Lion of Babylonian Hebrew Society grant. Yeah, that's what I want to do. My family has participated in philanthropy for generation after generation after generation. For hundreds of years, my family has participated in intra-Jewish and extra-Jewish philanthropy. And I love philanthropy. But I think the problem is about philanthropy. Well, this cap is too small for my skull bone. The problem is with philanthropy is that you need money to do it. And my family actually exhausted a huge portion of their money giving it to charity. And, this is something that I always say to my, maybe it's for the best, but I would always say when I was younger, especially, I was like telling my mom and my grandma, like, why did you guys like give up what today would functionally amount to, millions and millions or dozens of millions of dollars to charity? Why would you do something like that? Because all we have now to show for it is like a little gold plaque. Like little gold plaques from all the different charity places. But at the same time, our charity helped, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of, Jews immigrate to America. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Ultimately, from my perspective, I say that, it's probably a tragic thing in terms of like what it entails for Hebrew civilization. But, for them, I'm sure that they're very happy. I wouldn't even be surprised if some of the Jews in these very streams, in these very circles, were at some point or another helped by one of the charities that was headed by my family. Fill me in on the old channel. Which old channel? The Babylonian channel. Or what? $5 to heal term here. $500 for diamond. Wow. Black hat isn't for me. Wear a dignified cap. Press $5 for heel turn for charity. Did your family benefit from the opium trade to China? I don't want to dox you, though. I don't know. I need to look more into the Iraqi side. Because I'm sure that they were probably involved with some stuff like that. I think some of my family also ended up in India, of all places. India and China. Both India and China. So it's really interesting. Or at least there are people who share surnames with that side of my family in India and China. If you're talking about my old channel, DB Cooper, there were some old videos on them, and they'll all be coming back soon. I had to put them unlisted because it's just like, I don't know why. I don't like them. They're sloppy videos. They don't reflect well upon me, and I'll bring them back eventually, but it's just like I'd rather not have them right now when YouTube's like mass taking down videos. See, the comments on my videos, I think my videos are probably just as important, if not less important, than some of the comments on them in the case of a live stream or even a normal video. Like, I have some very intelligent people commenting on my videos, and I think it would be a shame if, let's say, some troll or something like that, just went and mass reported my videos, because all my videos, the way the YouTube algorithm works is it's on the side of whoever initiates reporting, and so if you're just some anonymous account guy and you just go out and you report a bunch of people and you don't have a channel yourself, you have nothing to lose, but you can effectively screw over someone's all of someone's creation. So it's like, I don't want those comments to get taken down. I don't want my videos to be put in limited state. So I'd rather keep them unlisted for now, but I will be bringing them back, over time, yeah. The number of Iraqi Jews in India. There are a number of Iraqi Jews all over Asia. Lots of Baghdadi Jews ended up in the British Raj and China. They ended up everywhere. My family was in England. My family was in Manchester and London, and then they moved to New York City. The heel turn doesn't want to engage with you? Well, nah, heel turn's a big chat. I worked with Joaquim on Backyard Bloodsports. I was a pretty regular recurring panelist, and Joaquim's actually a pretty decent dude. I mean, we all have our character flaws, but yeah, I don't really have any particular problems with him. I'd say he's just a very kind of a normie guy. So it's very surprising that, I guess him and Spencer are now doing this thing. And I guess that's a huge step up for Joaquim compared to, let's say, Backyard Bloodsports. But I would say that for Spencer, to quote Duvid, begging for chump change on YouTube is not exactly as impressive as, the head of the NPI with, backing from the Regnery Institute and the backing from the Regnery family and their charities, as well as head of a think tank backed by the Regnery charities and the protege of Jonathan Bowden. I mean, look how the great have fallen, and I can tell you exactly why. It's because he puts himself as a person, as a human first. How much money does he make? How recognized is he? Is he the one who gets the media appearances? He puts that, and I can't blame him, because this is something that humans do. But he puts that above, and I even think that just the way he went about things, like he tried to do all these things like phalanx and stuff like that. It's like, no, you don't need to do like these more public things or paid things. What you should have is a private, free, secret society of people who you think could become prospective like elites or influential people, like something like that. You don't want to frickin' have like all these people out there because they're going to get doxxed and have their lives ruined. And guess what they did? And I think it's interesting. It's worth pointing out that Mr. Dickie Spence, he's alienated everyone around him. Even Brundlefly, Brundlefly, gone. Let's see, Comte, gone. His wife, gone. His child, gone. His father cut him off. And I've been cut off by my family, all right? That means that it's a fate oft suffered by, the children of the errant, misbehaved children of the affluent. He's been cut off by his father, and he's resorted to begging for chump change on YouTube simply because I just don't think he cares about people as much as he cares about himself, nor does he care about his cause as much as he cares about himself. He cares about himself and his brand. And ultimately I can't blame him, because, there is kind of that egoistic drive that exists in most people, but I think that, if you're going to find a flaw, that would be it. Jonathan Bowden would be is rolling in his grave. Jonathan Bowden was his mentor. And I think that it's a shame to see, how the great have fallen. Like I said earlier, a mentee of Bowden, an intelligent man from a good family. He had a think tank. He had those little societies, like secret societies going, and he had and he was being donated to by the Regnery family. But he just muffed it all up, and I think that that's a damn shame. Yeah, controlled opposition, yeah. GSP, what is it saying, yeah. Would never have discovered Luke Ford. Imagine if Judas never became religious in the summer of 2012, he never would have discovered Luke Ford. Kevin Burger King. Who are you asking, me? No, I'm not. I drank a little bit. I guess that's a drug. Negation F, Dick Spence. Brundlefly says, Pilliter, how do you feel about your ex-boyfriends? Yeah, well, anyway, that's all I have to say about Jason Reza Giorgiani more or less ruined his academic career by associating with Spencer. Spencer lured him in with false promises. Spencer is a user, and I know so many people like this. I know so many people, and as a matter of fact, I'm thinking of these people that I know, these users, and most of them actually come from rather affluent backgrounds, like, for instance, Mr. Dickie Spence, but they, these are people who haven't suffered much in their own personal lives. These are people who haven't gone through much adversity, and many of these people are people who have dropped out of high school and college. These users, these people are users. They see someone, someone, most of them fit the category, from my personal experience, of people rather like Spencer. Like, for instance, I have several friends of mine that are kind of like this. They will have, they use their parents. They go to a prep school or university, and then they drop out, and then they use their family's money to coast by, and they use other people along the way. They use them. It's like a Capri Sun pouch. They suckle all the juice out of them, and then when that person is no longer convenient to have around, when then it's no longer profitable, it's no longer cool to have that person around, you toss them away. Just like that. But the problem is, when you're a user, is that people grow wary of that, and eventually, the base of the group of people who respect you and take you seriously and want to work with you dwindles and dwindles and dwindles and dwindles. Yeah. You hung out with Giorgiani? That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, GSP. Yeah, of course Spencer's vain, but I think that most leaders are vain. I mean, look at me. I'm not a leader, but it's like, I go on the Luke Ford stream. Like, I'm showing my face, I'm wearing silly hats. I'm like Luke Ford with the CPAP mask, I think a lot of people on the internet are just sort of a bit narcissistic. A lot of people who do things that involve putting their face out there and stuff like that. There may be a bit of some vanity and narcissism. Yeah, Giorgiani's a good dude. I like Giorgiani. And Reactionary Jew. I'm not sure if I should talk about him, but Reactionary Jew is very, very close to my heart. He's an excellent man, and him and I have had, extensive sort of interpersonal IRL contact. We've worked on stuff together, and it's a damn shame he's out of the game now. But Reactionary Jew was, he was so enthused and inspired by the Spencer situation. But after the whole Giorgiani mess up, he realized, this isn't where I'm not going to put my eggs in this basket. He was inspired by seeing the idea of Giorgiani and Spencer working together. He saw a vision of, kind of like, I guess, this sort of pan-reactionary global indigenous peoples movements or something along those lines. But yeah, press F for Reactionary Jew. Reactionary Jew, I saw him very recently. He's doing good. He's doing good. And I think he'll be making Aliyah soon, God willing. He's an excellent man. Everyone goes through stuff in life. He's very busy. He's got a lot of normie stuff to deal with, so I get it. Who's eccentric? Pilleater says he's eccentric. The coming about of an Asian world. Yeah, and this is something that I've actually talked about well, is the coming about of an Asian world. That's something that I used to talk about maybe a few months ago, but yeah. What did I want to talk about to Kyle tonight that I want to get a chance to? The Jewish alternate right SoundCloud. Yes, I do. I was actually going to go on that, but it stopped before I was able to. And I talked to Reactionary Jew, and I said, Reactionary Jew, come back into the game with me and make a podcast with me, even anonymously with a voice changer. And he said, I can't do it. I can't. But he wants to, but he can't. Alas. He would if he could, though. What did I want to talk about? Dude, I have a lot to say to Kyle. I think that a lot of Kyle, Kyle is kind of like, and the problem is he's doing this in the middle of a debate. So it's like, that's going to obviously change his framing. But I think that Kyle needs to separate. He needs to stop talking about the elite. The elite. Yeah. Brundlefly, that's why I make good content. But Kyle is talking about the elite. But it's like, who are you talking about, the elite? The elite doesn't have confidence in themselves? Okay, because the financial elite, they do have confidence in themselves. The Koch brothers have confidence in themselves. And they're not worrying about, social signaling and, I feel like I'm a bad person because I have so much money. No. That's nonsense. Carlos Salim isn't thinking that. Nonsense. People working, downtown. They don't think about that. The true financial elite, including most of the wealthiest people, the billionaires, as it were, aside from a small subset of tech billionaires, generally, these people are, what do you call it? These people are mighty confident in themselves. So then below them, you have the tier 2 elites, the tier 3 elites, the tier 4 elites. These aren't really necessarily the true financial elites. There is some overlap, but these are people in tech, these are people in media, these are people in, these are people in, tech, media, and academia, people like that, and those are the people who lack confidence in themselves, whatever. The financial elite does not lack confidence in themselves whatsoever, and I think that's a ludicrous proposition. How would Reactionary Jew react to Jews espousing Haredi ideology? I think he's quite familiar with it. Reactionary Jew is from a modern Orthodox background himself, but I know from firsthand experience that much of his community and many of his friends are Haredim, and he regularly interacts with Haredim and doesn't think ill of them at all. And as a matter of fact, I went to several. And I don't know how much I should say, but I went to several Haredi, milieus, whatever, with RJ, and I had a lovely time. You could chart Spencer's downgrade spiral beginning about a year or two after Bowden died. Bowden brought out the best in GSP, and that's the thing that's so tragic, is Bowden was an early loss, and it was incredibly tragic. He might be, as it were, sort of on the opposite side of the battlefield from me, in civilizationally speaking, but I must tip my hat to such an intelligent, well-spoken man, such a passionate speaker, such a brilliant thinker. He died in March of 2012. I remember seeing his obituary on the Voice of Reason website blog. Yeah, I agree. I think that Spencer, and I can't blame him, because once you lose your mentor, if you're a mentee, in the process of being mentored, and you lose your mentor, imagine what that can do to you. That takes the wind out of your sails. It's incredibly tragic in many ways. But Andy, Colin, and Spencer are the only true alt-right trio. Yeah. Kyle needs to do more Batman impressions in the dark. Yeah. Well, it's 1 a.m. I don't know what I should do. Should I just leave the stream running, or should I pause it? I think I'm just going to pause it and resume it later. Bye, everyone. Bye. I'm not going anywhere. You think you've heard the last of me? I remained a, quote, liberal and, quote, see how the far right is growing, anti-racist liberal who sees the world. It's a language game. Because I remained a liberal and see how the far right is growing. Oh, I see what you're saying, Pale Eater. Yeah, that's interesting. Ooh. I'd love to become an academic, but, go to grad school and stuff. But before I do, I'd rather amass more shekels, honestly. And then go to grad school. I feel bad asking my parents to pay for all this stuff for me, if I'm being perfectly honest. I'd rather do for myself than ask others what they can do for me, because I've done a little bit of the latter my entire life, a bit too much. Law is hard. I'm just going for an MA, MFA, or MA into PhD. Oh, you're getting a Juris Doctorate. Impressive. Pardon me. Yeah. I don't understand lawyers. If you're a lawyer, you have to work so hard, it's ridiculous. My father is a lawyer, and he, it's just such a colossal time sink, memorizing someone else's stupid laws. Why does it even matter at the end of the day? I guess it's interesting for some people, but literally, he graduated from his law school summa cum laude. How can you graduate from a law school summa cum? I don't even understand how you can graduate from a law school. It's literally just so much boring rote learning that I couldn't envision myself, as I would perceive it, wasting time on something like that. I'm not cut out for it. I don't have the conscientiousness. I'm not intelligent enough, etc., etc. Trying to leverage both your law degree and non-legal creative skills. Okay, that's interesting. That's a good take. Yeah, law is hard. That's the thing. Law is very hard. D.B. Cooper, a PhD more difficult than law. There are a lot of variables there. It depends what you get your PhD in. And I would say that for certain people it isn't. I would say that for myself, I would have probably an easier time going about getting, let's say, a PhD in anthropology or something like that than I would in law. I mean, what do you think? Yeah, sorry. I was just saying. I played airsoft. I played airsoft all day yesterday, and I was sprinting for hours, and I didn't feel it at all at the time. But my legs are so sore because I was literally sprinting for hours and hours and hours. I was playing airsoft literally all day, and I was sprinting whilst doing it. And it was so intense, and my legs, like, every time, like, it's hard to stand up and sit down. My legs are like jelly. It's so intense, yeah. A PhD would mean your whole life fighting for something like white people will become anime. Yeah, Ashton Wignat. Did I even stretch before? Yeah, I did stretch before, as a matter of fact. I did stretch before. But not enough, I guess. My leg, dude, I literally almost had like a cramp or a stitch, and it's not just because like I'm quite out of shape, because I do a lot of cardio, like I bike around and stuff like that. But it was just so like I just overtaxed my body. It's so easy to like overtax your body in the moment. Like I was literally like I probably would have spent like over the course of the day like at least an hour or two like just in the act of sprinting, not running but sprinting, just because like I was getting so into the airsoft, the rubberized ball, shooting rubberized balls at people, and I was very good at it. What I would do is I would Ender Wiggin, that's Kyle Rowland Rowland. What I would do is, let's say the enemies were here, I'd run around and sort of, let's say the blockage was here, like trees or something like that. I would run around, circle around, go behind them, and take them out. And I got two people at once in one of those goes. And I've never played airsoft before, but yeah, it was a jolly good time. Did you just mod you? Sure. I thought I had modded you already. How do I? Okay, so there's a problem, Judas. I'm sorry, but every time I try to add someone as a moderator on this stream, it automatically says make Pilleater a moderator. So somehow Pilleater has, at least via Streamlabs, hijacked my ability to make anyone besides him a moderator. Bruno Faiduti's thesis was on the history of unicorns and how it will be possible through genetic engineering they will come back. Come back? You got unmodded when you removed 250 from the title. Oh, come on, Judas. Oh, that's infuriating. It's not letting me mod you, Judas. It's very annoying. So, I tried watching Nausicaa the other day, and I swear to God, it's Miyazaki's worst. Nausicaa is not Miyazaki's worst film. I love Nausicaa. See, there are two cuts of Nausicaa. Which did you watch? Did you watch the, like, shitty first dub, which I have an affinity for because I grew up with it? Or did you watch the, the second one that brings in all of the chopped out footage that wasn't in the first one? Because there are two dubs, and one is less faithful, one's more faithful. The first was, like, Warriors of the Wind, some total, like, America bullshit, Americanization. Perennial sends me a video. I'm gonna watch it now. All right. It's not letting me open it. Perennial. Sorry. It's annoying. His best films are Porco Rosso and The Wind Rises. I haven't seen The Wind Rises yet. Haven't seen that yet. Oh, wait, yes, I have. I haven't seen The Wind... I had seen The Wind Rises only once, and I still need to wait to watch the next one. The next Miyazaki film. The latest Miyazaki film, which I forget what it is. Miyazaki film is Kaze. The Wind Rises. Yeah. Porco Rosso is an excellent movie. I love Porco Rosso. That's excellent. That's an excellent film. It speaks to me in a lot of ways as well. I think it's got a good story behind it. I think Porco Rosso has an excellent story behind it, as a matter of fact. It's really got a beauty to it. It's great. I remember it all. I remember Gina. I remember Marco, or whatever the American's name is. I remember... Yeah, it's a great film. There's that girl who sits in the front of the cockpit, who's the repair girl. Good stuff. Yeah. Very strange pro-access film the West doesn't want to talk about. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Oh, I didn't mean to zoom in on my face. That's bad. Bad optics. How to make society trad. One quick option. Only one quick option. Limit access to higher education. Really? You think that's how it would go about? I do think maybe that there is something to that. I think that there are way too many people going to higher education right now. But the thing is, that also devalues higher education. The whole model has become, monetized. That's not how it ought to be. The school used to be connected to the church, the cathedral. And I think that there's almost more legitimacy to sort of it, if academia is going to be pegged to something, as it were. I would rather it be pegged to the, let's say, the church or the temple, the synagogue, etc., or rather than having it pegged to, the world of profit and money, because, as I said earlier, the profit motive and capitalism in general really does quash whole entire segments. Not all. In fact, it helps some types of innovation, but it quashes many other types of innovation. So, alas. I'm going to go out for a walk in a little bit. Religion reveals itself in all sorts of ways, says the truth will live. I like how when the truth will live comments, because it has dots in it, like period, full stops in the truth will live, it automatically recognizes it as a website address, like .live, thetruthwill.live, and it gives me the option to click the link. The SJWs are a religion. I mean, SJW, I think, is quite a reductionist term. The SJWs are a religion, but of course, I totally see what you're saying. I mean, in a way you could say, everything is a religion, in the sense of when people say of religion, what they're really talking about is a metaphysic. And yeah, I guess they have their narrative, they have some, basic kind of semi-metaphysic, they have their groundings, they have their quote, religion, as it were, so yeah, I do. SJWs, I believe, is the new white culture, says Pilliter. Interesting. What makes you say that, in the same way that, let's say, there was once kind of the Protestant ethic imbued, quote, white culture in America or something like that? Judas Star High, of course, yes, and that's a major problem. I think it is. I think that because as long as you see yourself as a victim, you can never see yourself as a victor. It's one or the other. I really do think something like that is a zero-sum circumstance. The cute blue hair girl with a sushi outfit. Hold on. Oh, and a lot of people give it flack, but realize the cute blue hair girl with the sushi outfit and Into the Lumberjanes is pretty cool. The Lumberjanes. That's a good idea. You should buy thetruthwill.live. I know the Lumberjanes. The woman or man or whatever, whoever's behind the Lumberjanes, I believe is actually, going to make some animated show now, or they've already been given the contract to make some sort of animated show. Post Lumberjacks, or it may have already happened, I don't know, but I read something about that. You got promoted today. Congratulations! Congratulations, dude! I was just talking earlier today about, jobs show discipline, and like Jonathan Otto Paul says, jobs show that you're a man. But at the same time, I was also talking about earlier today how I think that jobs are for people who are getting money milked out of them. If you're an employee, someone else is profiting off of you, effectively, in a rather, I don't want to, Kyle would call me a commie for this, but in a rather exploitative way, almost, one would say. And one could say, the capitalist defense would be, oh, well, it's not exploitation because they're providing, they're providing the means of production, they're providing the tools and the equipment and the workplace, etc., something like that. But, really, ultimately, then it just comes down to, whoever has that is the person who's going to come out on top. So it's just like, And is that necessarily a determinant of, even who's the most moral, or who's the most hardworking, or who's the most intelligent, or the most virtuous? I don't necessarily think so. Yeah. Well, anyway, social media websites redirect them, or you to sell your products. Yes, that's true. Do I live off World War II restorations? Reparations, you mean? Yeah, I live off World War II reparations. What if you're an employee that does nothing? I think that that's a tragedy. I think that people like that, instead of having like a fake job where you're doing fake work, which is what a lot of jobs are, mostly white collar jobs, but jobs in general, there are a lot of jobs that are fake jobs. And really, these people should just be given UBI so that they can, self-actuate to their heart's content. Or not even UBI necessarily. Maybe we should do something more radical. Maybe we should have some... what is the difference between UBI and serfdom? In a way, UBI is almost like trad. It's almost like neo-feudalism, because serfdom is the workfare model, the serfdom, the UBI, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting the way that, it's like you've got the... one could conceivably have like this sort of horseshoe theory thing. Just in this one economic thing, because it's like, you've got sort of the far right, you've got sort of the feudalist type people over here, and then you have like sort of the communist socialist type people, and both of these people, put people above systems and above profit. These are the more humanocentric views. And then down here at the curve of the thing, here you have like the libertarians, the right libertarians, and the neoliberal capitalists, you have, and that's sort of where Kyle lands, and to a degree where Luke Ford lands. So it's interesting. Serf's got a plot of land, exactly. There's so many manager paper pushers at your work. Nonsense. What are these people really needed for? What is any of this really needed for? We just need a mass auditing of every single segment of society, governmental, non-governmental, work, leisure, do we need... There's so much stuff where it's just been built up, and this is the problem with, I guess, conservatism or conservative ideologies. Anything that seeks to conserve, whether it's called conservative in name or not, the conservative instinct. It's like when I hear, and I see this in religions as well, Jews will say, they will appeal to the consensus. They will appeal to the status quo. Well, what is the consensus opinion? And that's the right opinion. Christians will appeal to the consensus, the status quo. Well, what is the current mainstream consensus opinion? But the problem is, these things grow, and they sort of, towards consensus. If everyone's just saying, well, the consensus is good, this is why you see in the middle you have the conservatives. Over here you have the quote progressives, or the futurists or whatever, and then over here you have the reactionaries. Notice the conservatives are stuck in the middle. Conservatives just they're just sort of dragging against the inevitable tide that is the pull of quote progressivism, or sometimes the backwards, the rip tide that is the reactionary sentiment. So it's interesting. I don't think we need to work 40 hours a week. Of course we don't need to work 40 hours a week. That's absurd. I don't think that makes any sense. Maybe if, it's done for the purpose of building moral fiber, because it's super good to be disciplined and work super hard, but to what end? Ultimately it's towards no real end, no real meaningful end. I used to go to Arcadia to play board games at a club 6 years ago when you started driving. Early reactionaries like Vico, Hartman, and De Maistre. Only a bit of De Maistre. I need to learn to code. No, luckily, I don't need to learn to code, but I think many, unfortunately, will. Controlled opposition, European reactionaries. I need to read more of my European reactionaries. I've deliberately tried to stay away from, a lot of, a lot of Western philosophy, because I don't necessarily want that sort of clouding my metaphysics, but it's I think it's worth checking out. Work by Crime Think, and early reactionaries. Do you have any recommended works, Controlled Opposition? Any place to begin? Let's see. Beaver College. Neoliberals are AIDS. Manning Manager. Paper Pusher. Search got a plot of land. Wasn't Arcadia Women's School. Phone autocorrect is gay. We need to make a 20-second opening credits for Luke Ford's Whack Pack animated series. Brundlefly will be depicted as Jeff. I love it. See, I think that sounds wonderful. Judah Star High. Isaiah Berlin was fascinated with Vico and Hartman. I'll have to check out Vico and Hartman. Or sorry, Haman rather. Sorry, I have a bad time pronouncing European names. Sometimes, it's just kind of hard to figure it out, especially with I don't know. I can kind of figure out Slavic ones because the rules are generally a bit more consistent, but certain European languages I have a hard time with. Alright, so let me see. Let me see if how super chats are working. Give me a moment. I'm just going to test it.
power to the woman in the kitchen, power to the woman in the kitchen, power to the woman in the kitchen.
All right, hold on. So that was from the Women's March. What's my take on the Winnie the Pooh question? What's the Winnie the Pooh question? Gas the Tiggers. Do a call-in stream so you can impress Vivian. You're not going to impress Vivian with Fed posting now, Judas. Come now. I can do a call-in stream, though. I'll set up a call-in stream. Fico, Hammond, Maestra. I could do a call-in stream. I could do that, but alas, I'm going to have to leave my house soon because I'm going to be walking around the neighborhood. What do I do? No, Judas, don't do anything. I literally just had like 5 unlisted videos get frickin' like hate listed. Like not like my channel got a strike, but they go on like they get like the censored content stuff, and it's funny. It's Real Brother Radio. It's the Real Brother Radio and the Obsidian shows that are the ones that are getting censored. How interesting is that? It's fascinating. Yeah, I think it must be. It's just purely algorithmic, isn't it? It's like when certain words are said in a call, like that little translation text chat. Can pick it up and be like, okay, this is bad. And then it not demonetizes it. It takes the video down and it deletes it. Oh, of course, you said the N-word. I'm gonna say the N-word. Too bad Norvin isn't here to give Yeah, Norvin should give me super chats from his welfare because I don't get welfare and my family doesn't give me money and I don't work that much either. So Norvin has more money than me. Norvin has more shekels than me and really should be donating to me if he has any sense of compassion for the downtrodden, economic have-nots of this great nation. Third grader. Man, you're just a third grader. Ah-ha-ha, you're just a third grader. My name is Theron. I'm Real Brother Radio. We're not talking about that. Dude, he's so crazy. I'm a middleman of fine art. Harley, this isn't art. This is an antique. I mean, it is art, but it's an antique. It's a quilt. It's not a painting. It's a quilt. It's more of a historical piece. At its time, it wasn't. I think this would have been considered more like common art at the time. This would have been considered a common thing at the time, rather than art. What's hanging on my wall right over there. But now it may be considered to be something that has value because of the historical context. Judas and RBR both live in LA. RBR has a journalism degree. If you want to know why I was knocking journalism degrees, like RBR is a good example. RBR is smart and has hot takes relative to the average journalist, who is a dumbo, an ideological dumbo. Sorry. And Luke Ford was saying, well, even like the journalists who write in, this paper and that paper, they're at least somewhat high IQ. I don't even necessarily think so. I mean, they're good writers, but I don't know, man. Journos are, they're not all they're cracked up to be. They are not all they're cracked up to be at all. And my family's apartment is screwed. Thank you, Truth. It's old. I can listen to RVR for days. It's like ASMR to me. The SJW are actually attacking black nationalists now. Really controlled opposition. Tell me more. And I can see why. For the same reason that proto, quote, SJWs would attack Marcus Garvey and the early Zionists. Because these people are, they have an alternate vision. Because ultimately, I mean, I don't even know whether I believe that there are truly, like, these super ideological, like, these SJW people out there, or even something like that. Really, these people are all just capitalist shills. These people are all just dupes for capitalism, or they're actively promoting some sort of neoliberal kind of Elysium-like hell world. They really just want to atomize everyone as much as possible so that we can all become consumers. That's their vision. It's not like any of these people are aiming for some sort of communist utopia, some sort of something like that. No, these people are all just the good guys of capitalism. Let's see. SJW girls are cute. They need good boyfriends, says Pillator. Lit Sigil says. Nails on a chalkboard. can't listen to RBR for even a second. English majors are Sargon of Akkad. Ah! Oh, that's funny. Asian studies majors are kind and just want the good life. Yes, I did see you on RBR, the Vabscast. AKA, what's it called? Razor Bump Radio. King Kush. Razor Bump Radio is white noise. Yeah, Razor Bump Radio is white noise. I mean, he has some good points, and he like adds some interesting kind of like metaphysical considerations, but yeah. Menthol Gold says, selected essays in labor Zionism. Ber Borochov. Read it, Babs. Good shit. Yeah. I will take a look. Selected essays in labor Zionism, and vis-a-vis labor Zionism, you know, I raise you one, A.D. Gordon. I raise you one A.D. Gordon essay, because I think that A.D. Gordon's written a bunch of, you know, fascinating small essays and given a bunch of really interesting small speeches that has some absolutely beautiful excerpts when it comes to labor Zionism. But yeah, I'll definitely check out what you're talking about, Menthol Gold. Ashton Wignat says, I'm Australian and I'm highly impressed with your Australian accent. Few can do it that well. I mean, there are different Australian accents, really. I mean, there's the one that's there's the one where it's like it's in Housos. You know, the show Housos and those other shows by, like, Paulie Finnick, the Maltese guy. It's like they got accents like this. Oi, Bazza, give me another beer from the fridge. Or something like that. But it's like, that's one type. And then you've got Luke Ford, which is the accent of an Australian man who spent most of his life in America and has somewhat become acclimated to the American accent. So it's like, sort of like, Luke Ford here. I am faking an American accent as we presently speak. I have this interesting transatlantic or trans-Pacific thing going on, and here you are. And then there's some Australian people who are almost indistinguishable from an Englishman in terms of how they speak, like if anyone's familiar with Reactionary Expat, a very, very intelligent man, an NRX/RX gentleman, a super good channel that used to exist, and you know, I talked to him quite a good deal, but yeah, he's got, I guess, what I would probably identify as an upper class or an upper middle class Australian accent relative to, you know, you got the stuff down here where it's like, oh yeah, bro, no, I never found my AirPods, bro. Alright, listen, I never found my AirPods. Fucking bullshit, mate. Literally, I probably, like, left them at, like, on, like, a bus or something like that. I'm still trying to raise Super Chat money. Thank you, Azza. Glad you think it's spot on. But yeah, I'm still trying to raise Super Chat money, so that I can cop a new pair. So since there are like 20 people watching now, I need recommendations. I think I might go to like Times Square or something like that, so that people, every time someone donates, like through the OBS link in the chat, it'll play out loud, kind of like this.
Those pink hats are gay.
On a really loud volume, and I did this when I was at the Women's March, and it worked really well. Like, I was getting a lot of really like unfriendly looks, for sure. People definitely were hearing it, and I think that yeah, I need suggestions for like places that I can go that are like high you know, density areas, high human density areas, where I can go and sort of cause mayhem in New York City. So I need you guys to come up with ideas. Like, should I go to Times Square or something like that, where the tourists are? So that way, you know, those things can play at maximum volume. Judas loves when RBR starts chimping out. I prefer the sound of a garbage truck loading outside my window to RBR. Says Glenn Medley. And I'm sure you know very well what that sounds like, having lived in New York City. Pardon me. Controlled opposition. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. I can see why, and I think that's a shame. You know, I generally think I would side with the quote-unquote black nationalists, because I've talked to people like that in my own personal life, and most of them are quite reasonable. You know, they're sort of like the ones who are truly identitarian in one sense or another. Like, for instance, one of my closest friends growing up was someone who, you know, went on a vacation through a program called the Brotherhood Sister Soul. He was of Jamaican ancestry, and he went on this program where he went on a trip to Ghana, a week-long or 2-week-long trip to Ghana that was all expenses paid. And, you know, he earned it as being part of this program, and I think that things like that are really, really good. I think that it's a good cause. Judas used to think that Babs was 27. Yeah, you're about a decade off, just shy of a decade off. But were there any signs of at the Women's March that really resonated with you? Yeah, Pussy Grabs Back. I've never heard that one before. As well as Pussy Power. I saw a Pussy Power sign that was quite well made. Get a blaster for downtown super chats like Radio Raheem. I need money to do that. So you need to first give me the super chats so I can afford the blaster. It's not like I'm going to work and then direct that money towards YouTube or anything preposterous like that. I mean, come now. I don't have that much spare income. Allah Akbar, Wall Street. Let's see. I could go to Wall Street. I work literally right in the Wall Street area. I work like a 2 minute or less. I work like a 30-second quick walk from literal Wall Street. So yeah, I could blast them around Wall Street. But there aren't that many people there except during like the break hours or something like that. And I'm not sure if they would have the same reaction necessarily as, the people at the Women's March, who were glaring at me. Which was quite funny. But yeah, I could try it in Wall Street. I could try it in Times Square. The Muslim stream. Yeah, Glib Medley. It was great. We need to do that again sometime. Dude, I haven't seen the Muslim stream. Which Muslim? Oh wait, yes I have. I saw it the last time. Someone posted the link in the chat. I didn't know that there's one going on right now though. We need Judas and Shlomo Gordon stream. Yeah, that would be nice. Judas, I could make that happen actually. What do you do when I'm not streaming? Mostly interact with humans. I'm mostly just hanging out with people. I'm a very social person. I'm hanging out with people. I'm biking a lot. Yeah, Glib attracted so much animosity during the march. It was wonderful. Glib is less agreeable than I am, so I need him to sort of get into fights with me, and then I'll back him up. G-walking. What's that, goy walking? It's like jaywalking, but it's goy walking. Wall Street has a foul stench. Judas should run for Knesset, says Judas Star High. Yeah, I go cycling. I go cycling a lot. But then again, I mostly view cycling as a form of commuting than a recreational thing. But I do spend a lot of time doing it. It's my favorite form of commuting in the city. The stench of mammon. It's like... I mean, did you do like a remake of Devilman Crybaby? Except it's like Luke Ford and Kyle Rowland. And it's like, talks about like, I don't know. It's interesting. It's hard to explain what I'm getting at right now. I just like it because they use all the like terminology that sounds like Hebrew spirits and stuff. Do I like city life? Yeah, I think I do. I like non-city life too. I like it all. I like being in the nature. I like being around people. I need constant intellectual stimulation. I'm very needy and greedy. But I also like being in nature. I love being in nature. I haven't been to the King of Prussia Mall in several years. Really thin gay Asian girls are into it. I met a Korean girl through saying, yeah, Pillator, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, you are indeed correct. Now, I'm not into that. Really thin Asian girls. I can't think of something that's further removed from my own personal tastes. But horses for horses, and to each their own. And yeah, you will meet people like that cycling. I mean, I've met good people cycling, many good people. I don't like the spandex-clad, weekend warriors as much as I do like the commuter cyclists. No, I don't like fat Asian girls, no. But, that isn't the most far-removed thing from thin Asian girls, but let's see, King of Prussia is building a train straight to Philly. Feels like metropolitan life is a very black thing. In many ways it is, to some degree, but not all elements of it are. I mean, there is that latent influence that seeps in, as it were. Like, Julius Evola talks about, and I talked about this on Luke Ford's stream, the Wigger question. Julius Evola talks about the negrification of America, and this is happening culturally speaking. But at the same time, you also have the Europeanization and the Asianification of quote, African American culture and other various forms of Black American culture. So I think that these are all things that we're taking into account. At the end of the day, we're all just going to get a big mix, and you can see where this is with you've got the popcorn rap or bubble pop, whatever it's called, rap, bubblegum rap. No, it's called like cotton candy rap, whatever. You've got Tekashi X9, frickin' all my friends are dead, push me to the edge, Lil Uzi Vert, shit. You've got like Race Rhymer being like, I'm a rock star. Like, they've been whitened at the same time. They've been whitened. And, now you've got, white and black kids together, and they're like, they're wearing, like Asian designed and European designed streetwear. And, they're Yeah, Asian designed, European designed streetwear, and they're playing like Fortnite together, and they're listening to like Tekashi X9 and freaking whatever, and they're it's this kind of middle ground where it's like the white American culture has become negrified, but the negrified culture that's coming in has itself at this point become European Americanized. It's become whitened as well as Asianized, and even Europeanized to a degree. So it's interesting. It all sort of dilutes itself out, and we end up with this kind of, is it a happy medium or is it an unhappy medium? Well, I'm not really quite sure, but I think that it's a shame that at the end of the day, it ultimately all leads towards consumerism and capitalism, because that's the direction that everything goes these days. But maybe it could be done well, but I do think it's a shame that it sort of tends to work in that direction, as does everything. It's the black globo homo. It's taken over the whole world of POCs. Based on you. I can't open links on this app for some reason. Mumble rap made me hate humanity. Bumblebee rap. Brundlebee rap. The Luke Ford animated cartoon show could be like Mission Hill art direction. Should be like Mission Hill art direction. I'd like to see you be in charge of that, pit leader. I went back to white after stepping into the darkness. Gad forbid, says King Kush. Have I ever seen the cartoon The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy? I want the Whack Pack cartoon to have the same art style. Yeah, I'm familiar with The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. But I never saw it. My family didn't let me watch cartoons. That was like, wasn't that the era of like, I mean, I don't remember. I remember cartoons. There were like Dexter's Laboratory, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, The Kid Next Door, Puffy, Amy, Yumi, or something like that. My family never let me watch cartoons, so I don't really know. There was SpongeBob, there was Ben 10 or whatever, Teen Titans, all sorts of cartoons, but my family never let me watch them. They only let me watch, as far as TV went, like Science Channel, Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, History Channel, stuff like that, Nat Geo, and then read, do a lot of reading. So I did a lot of reading. I didn't really get to watch cartoons, and looking back on it, I'm saying, like, what did I miss? It made me a loser, and like maybe that's something that'll stick with me for the rest of my life, is because I never knew, and they didn't let me watch other shows. They didn't let me watch, like Drake and Josh or iCarly, which were the other things that people were watching, in my generation. But yeah, The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. But at the same time, it's like, it gave me this sense of social disconnect where I was always, people would be talking about this stuff and I'd always be like sort of on the margins, And I would, that made me the nerd, that made me the loser. But at the same time, it's like, now looking back, aside from the sort of metaphysical damage that was dealt to me from constantly like internalizing this kind of like, being a lame-o because you didn't know about this whatever random stuff people were into. Aside from that, I do think that ultimately perhaps I'm better off. Yeah, Puffy Amy Yumi. Hey, Puffy Amy Yumi show. You're going for Mission Hill style. Do you like Cal Arts? Are you gonna make, dude, Cal Arts Luke Ford show? It's like, that show, like, what's it called? Like Bee and Bumblefly or some shit? Or what's it called? Like Butterfly and Bee? It's like Bee and, I don't know what it's called. That's like, it's like one of those shows by the Adventure Time people, yeah. In the Powerpuff Girls, the evil archenemy was a tranny. Really? Wait, what am I? Yeah. Puppy Cat and Bee. Yeah, Bee and Puppy Cat. Bee and Puppy Cat, yeah. Or She-Ra. She-Ra. Bee and Puppy Cat and She-Ra. The new She-Ra show. Pilliter, dude, come to New York. Gilad Medley Pilliter and do his roommate unite in New York to make the next arts collective. Babs is on 2x speed. I don't mean to be on good, dude. 2x speed. You were thinking of Adventure Time, Alanis? And what's the other thing that you were thinking of? What is it called? Noonga on the front? The Noonga on the front. I'll have to look into that. My life as a teenage robot is Eurasian futurism. Yeah, my life as a teenage robot. What else is there? There's another thing. There's another thing that's kind of like that. What is it? It's like called like Owl in the Woods or something like that. It's not that show with the black kid where it's called like Carl of the Creek or whatever that shit is. It's the other show where it's called like Owl Wolf Woods or something like that. Wolf Owl Woods. It's like a Cal Arts show, and it's got like
You know, the owls and the wolves and the woods, owl woods or something like that. And, you know, of course, it's got, and of course it's got like a whitewashed, like a white presenting black kid, and like the punk Asian girl or some shit or something like that, and like a beta white boy, a little like weak emotional white guy or some shit. I don't know. Like, what's the name of the show? You know what I'm talking about. Like what are you talking about? What's it called? Like, what's the name of that show? CalArts Black Girl. Puffy, Teenage Robot, Symbiotic Titan, Samurai Jack, Daria is I remember Daria vaguely, but I think that was before my time, but I remember knowing about it. You all have terrible tests. The best show was Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold wasn't my time. That predates me, if I'm not mistaken. Cartoons are seriously twisted, yeah. Judah says, I stopped watching cartoons in 10th grade. They became too weird. New She-Ra is awesome. I love the new She-Ra. Oh, what was this? What does this say? Daria was red-pilled Summer Camp Island. Just adult rights. I remember my older sister watching the Friday night cartoons block with me when I was a young boy. Cherish your family. Run, Gordon, it's the policeman. Hey, Arnold's greatest mobile. You know what I'm talking about, where it's like Owl Woods. You pill eater, you have to know. What's it called? It's like a CalArts style show, and it's got like the Owl Woods. I'm annoyed now because I can't think of the name of it. Inspector Gadget, nobody can. I remember Inspector Gadget. I saw ads for it. It was like, do Inspector Gadget. But my family wouldn't let me watch Inspector Gadget because it was a cartoon. They thought it would, you know, rot my brain, and that I had to watch Animal Planet instead. OKKO. Yeah, that's after my time. I know OKKO, though. OKKO, you've got OKKO, you've got Gravity Falls, you've got... What else is there? Steven Universe, of course. And I mean, I'm almost up to date on Steven Universe. I mean, I pretty much know what's going on. There's the confrontation with the diamonds. Yeah, the Owl House, is that what it's called? Yeah. It's about, like, woods and there's... Yeah, it's the Owl House. It's the Owl House. Exactly. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Pill Eater. What's needed is a counter movement that provides people with what they need and can't currently get from the market and can't be subsumed by the market. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. Real Monsters. Real Monsters. That sounds familiar. What is that? Yeah, this predates my time. But, or not quite predates, but I think it almost sort of predates my time. Yeah, it does predate my time. It does predate my time. I was born after it began, as a matter of fact, quite a while after, so... I mean, so yeah. I didn't have the chance to even know about it. Invader Zim. I know Invader Zim, actually. And Invader Zim, there would be, like, you know, like, the loser... Like, I went to this camp that was, like, out of state, and, you know, it was, like, a camp for smart kids, and it's, like, you know, like, the like, quiet loser girl would wear, like, an Invader Zim hoodie, you know, and I was like, ooh, what's that? It looks kind of cool. Invader Zim. Jonan Vasquez. Who is that? Some sort of cartoon person? I've heard the name before. SpongeBob, but SpongeBob in its day, worth watching. My mother hated SpongeBob. My mother is like, SpongeBob is disgusting and grotesque and incredibly crass and boorish and distasteful and low class. And she forbade me, of all the cartoons, my mother would have none of me having anything to do with SpongeBob. She found it to sort of be, she found it to be sort of like a, you know, sort of a veneration and an exemplar of many of the worst facets of, you know, modern day American life. So my mother was very anti SpongeBob. She was specifically like, oh, your stupid classmates with their parents letting them watch SpongeBob and rot their brains, you know. That's what she would say. See. Damn, I guess I'm old. Yeah. Sadie and the Punk Band, Blade Runner. I mean, can't be subsumed. Yeah, I agree, Donald Robertson. The last episode of Steven Universe was like Dragon Ball Z. You mean where the one with Obsidian, or whatever she's called? The one who has like a fire ability?
Yeah. The Owl House is what I was talking about. Yes, Pill Eater. Let's see. I loved Invader Zim, says Judas. I don't know much about Invader Zim. Thundercleese or something like that was a character. I don't know anything about it. Yeah, SpongeBob. That shit was so degenerate. Courage the Cowardly Dog subscribes to Pill Eater. The guy who did Zim. Courage the Cowardly. Oh, I see. Interesting. Yeah, that shit was degenerate. Rocco's Modern Life. I don't know Rocco's Modern. That sounds familiar. Fighting White Diamond. Yeah, White Diamond. That's the main antagonist right now. But you know, it's she's not going to be an antagonist. They're going to convert her, and she's going to find her way and be, oh, I was wrong all along. You've shown me the good way. You've shown me the light. And now I'm going to be a good guy, and I will allow you safe passage. We will we will bring back all the corrupted gems, something like that. Yeah, 2011 once the last color. Emo kids watching Luke Ford with Asian girlfriends. What's available out there? It's a mitzvah for people to, on our spiritual levels, to watch cartoons and play video games. A real rabbi told you this. Really? Okay, what does that mean, though? Why? Little Bear. I remember Little Bear. That was a wholesome show, if I recall correctly. Little Bear was a good show. And then there was Franklin the Turtle. That was another show I actually watched from night. And then there was Dragon Tales. My family didn't let me watch that. It was too colorful and cartoonish. Isn't it weird? Hold on. The Adventures of Billy and Mandy was dark, so it's Courage the Cowardly Dog. Yeah. I didn't get to see either of those. I remember Courage when I was watching really young. It was nihilism. Didn't, the guy who did Courage the Cowardly Dog, isn't he, some frickin', degenerate pedo type? Even though, edgelord? Or am I wrong? Or a bibliophile or whatever, pedophile ass motherfucker? Shit. It's not letting me get rid of this stupid thing. Yeah, 1990s were grimdark. In the 2000s, John R. Dilworth did a podcast, yeah. What was it? It's preferable to other medias, especially with how you are around Goyim. What is preferable? Video games? Oh, how you are around Goyim. Yeah. I like to interact with the Goyim. I guess that's why I'm degenerate. I like cultural interchange. I think I was born to be an anthropology type focus. I really or maybe even a journalist before the age of journalists were officially pieces of shit. Early morning hours cartoon discussion, yeah. Exactly. Menthol gold. My mom only allowed me to watch alternative, non-commercial children's shows, but they were based. Interesting. Yeah, my family didn't let me watch children's shows. They let me watch Animal Planet, History Channel, Discovery Channel, Science Channel, and Nat Geo and stuff like that. Courage was literally selling evil to children. Munchie Man and Fatty. Journos have to learn to code. Yeah, I agree. Of course they have to learn to code. I like how that hashtag... I called it. And I mean, it's not that difficult to call it. But I called that hashtag getting banned. I was like, this hashtag is going to be done away with by Mr. Dorsey. Jack Dorsey, the little beta male. I could not... I'm a very, pale, passive, unathletic urbanite. But, I could knock Jack Dorsey's teeth straight out of his mouth. I could cave Jack Dorsey's face in with the back of my hand without even trying. I would just gently push my hand over, and his face would be a giant dent. But yeah, Jack Dorsey banned the hashtag. Learn to code. Of course he did, because it offends the blue check marks. Yo, Twitter's for losers. And journalists need to learn to code, and all these fucks will need to learn to code, because people are getting tired of their crap. Someone earlier today was like, remember when opinion papers were written by the actual people who read the paper? And I was like, no, I don't remember that. My entire life, opinion stuff have been written by, some dumb jack-off who's, getting paid more than they should. Who, think so much of themselves. Oh, I'm so smart, when in reality, it's they're making some, basic observations that anyone with the frickin', basic education could come to the conclusions of. It's oh, wow, I have such a woke take. Oh, let me compare this to all these different, art and philosophical styles. Stupid. Controlled opposite. Let me use these like words. Like I'm so smart. It's just like self-fellating. You know, I could do the exact same thing. I could write like any of these freaking journalists that you know. So could probably most of the people in the stream could write just like any of these journalists at the the New York Times or the New Yorker. You know, it's not difficult to get their kind of the style and their approach down. King Kush, unfortunately, I can't open video links from the chat. Let's see. Let's see. 90s was the worst. Depressing and heroin-soaked. People that didn't live through it lionized Nirvana and Alice in Chains and these extremely dark bands. It sucked ass. Menthol Gold says, watched an obscene amount of TV growing up. We were all but isolated in my house in the burbs. Never had anyone to play with. I don't like to think about cartoons. It's just sad. Controlled Opposition said fairy tales are actually rather reactionary. Clip Medley said Pavement was the last rock band I paid attention to. D.B. Cooper says, all these icons from that era of music are pretty much dead now. Grim. Very grim. Hold on. I'm about to head out. I'm about to head out for a little walk around the block. Sheep in the Big City. I remember Sheep in the Big City, actually. I don't know how, but that sounds familiar to me. I must have seen like I saw some image or something of that and it stuck with me. And interesting. It blades out. Don't get mocked by any Asians. I love sheep. Huh. I think I'm going to plug my phone in and let it charge for a moment. Alright, bye everyone. It was a nice talking. I'll be back in like 5 minutes or so. Ooh. We're going undercover, boys. Hey, Judas, what's up, man? Let's see if we can get some cool effects on the camera. Not working. Oh well. Yeah, how's it going, everyone? I'm just wearing this little fancy outfit, this little pull-down mask from my jacket, because now I understand the way why Kevin Michael Ray talks the way he does. It's kind of the way that one is drawn towards speaking, or at least the way that I assume certain people are drawn towards speaking when they drink, imbibe alcohol. You know, it's like it's sort of talking with points of emphasis. Hello, my name is Kevin Michael Grace. Obviously, I see where it comes from. Perhaps, maybe I'm wrong, but it's the staccato. It's sort of the lingering emphasis staccato. I don't know. Philip Daniel, you used the right term to describe it. Black pill us on the state of Hebrew repatriation. I know that that's what you meant, repatriation. I will. Black pill is that there are more Israelis leaving Israel to come to America than there are American Jews going to Israel, American Hebrews going to Israel. There, that's your black pill. Are you happy? I love how my nose is so big that it just sort of busts its way out of the face mask, even when I try to pull it up above it. It's like when there's like a fat person, you know, a portly, robust individual, and they're sort of got a shirt that's a bit too small, and they keep trying to pull it down, but it pops up.
my nose just kind of peeks through no matter what. Oh well. More, Judas. Well, I don't think there are that many black pills, actually. I think that there are some white pills. For instance, the Israeli culture, you know, contrary to the vision of the, quote, new Jew, there's a re-Levantization, there's sort of a rekindling of that spirit. The only problem is, it's populistic in nature. It's misguided. You know, it's not connected to its own past. It's tragic. You know, the whole situation is tragic, really. There isn't really much of a difference between Israel and Liberia. There are tragic tales of, you know, it's repatriation, but ultimately, you know, were we truly able to... Oh my god! I just found free food on the ground. I found a free Slim Jim. Check it out. Free Slim Jim. Whole thing, uneaten, wrapped, but it's got pork in it. So I'll just leave this here for a homeless person. I have not eaten pork a single time in my life, to my knowledge at least. One time I almost did, but I spat it out immediately upon realizing that it was pork. Oh, you want me to do that? Hey, Judas. You want me to rant? You want me to do the Mingdao rant? You want me to do the angry, bitter rant about why Jewesses suck today? Hey, is that what you're looking for, Judas? I can give you red meat if that's what you want. So, let's see. So where to even begin? Well, let me see. Where do I even begin, Judas? I mean, that's the thing, is I don't even know where to begin. You know, there's such a mess. I couldn't pick a specific place to begin. I mean, first of all, I mean, looking at the people involved in the Luke Fortisphere, that's all you need to know. If you look at the Jewish women in the Luke Fortisphere, I'm thinking of, or women of Hebrew descent rather, I'm thinking of several right now. All of them, if not almost all of them, are married to, or in relationships with a non-Hebrew, non-Jewish man, and I'm thinking at the same time about I'm thinking about all the Jewish men, the Hebrew men in the Luke Fortispheres, and most of them are interested in and, you know, sort of, you know, pointing in the direction towards, if not already in relationships with, non-Hebrew, non-Jewish women. So, I mean, I think that little microcosm right there paints a pretty good picture of what I see every single day in urban metropolitan America and the West in general more broadly. There's a rat. Oh, I wasn't able to film it. It scurried into the sewer too quickly. But yeah, it's a bleak pill and a black pill. I mean, there's not very much good to be said, is there? I say that the present state of affairs is bad. I don't know what much to say beyond that. The Jewish women in the streams are far-right-wing Erev Rav. Pray they do teshuvah. Or something like that, says Judas. Yeah, Judas, someone told me to tell you they've been reading up on the Erev Rav, that guy JT you were in the stream with. But, yeah, I guess as that whole situation goes, I mean, it makes sense. I think it's kind of a cyclical thing that feeds itself. And part of this is simply due to the nature of, like, you know, where we stand, like, as a culture, as a civilization. And largely, this is due to not just diaspora, but specifically the type of urban metropolitan diaspora that we've gone through. I think that as a result of that, as well as a result of other, you know, it's a whole coalescing of combined reasons, but coalescence. But you've got the the fact that like we generally our culture, initially, like cultures of the Levant, due to like an early agricultural burst and early written language and script and whatnot, the Afro-Asiatic early cultures of the Levant were advanced, and due to the place in the world where they were, and the type of society that formed there, ever since the beginning, before Jews were even Jews, before Hebrews were Hebrews, back when we were part of the undifferentiated Levantine masses, even perhaps prior to the Afro-Asiatic or Semitic languages, even really becoming a thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but we had advanced agriculture, we had hyper-advanced irrigation. Some of the most early advanced irrigation in the world comes from the Levant region. And what developed is city-states, tightly knit tribal communities, trade, mercantile ventures, etc. And what does that lead to? That leads to people who are a certain type of way, and that simply got exacerbated and increased and multiplied to the nth degree. And that is how we ended up in the position where, I guess Jewish men or Hebrew men are, these kind of often hyper-cerebral. There's a reason why the Nebish is such a common stereotype, even to this day. The average, Gen Z or millennial Jew from, let's say, New York City might not even be familiar with what the term Nebish means, but they've certainly met one, or a few dozen, or a few hundred. And there's a reason why there's such a stereotype exists. And frankly, what woman is interested in a man like that? Well, a woman who's, just slept with like a gazillion like Chads and Tyrones and, what do you call it? Like, I don't know, like Jose's and whatnot, and, is looking for like Jewish beta bucks to settle down with after, who she can completely like control and henpeck. And then she doesn't even want that guy. She just wants like his stability, come age, 30, 35, but more like 40 or 50 these days. But it is pretty bleak in that regard. But it's like, what are Hebrew or Jewish men doing to make themselves marketable, but also what are Hebrew or Jewish women doing to make themselves marketable to Jewish men? Because frankly, they're not interested in that. Of course they're not. They are interested in everyone else. And I can understand why. And Jewish men are also interested in everyone else because they don't want, yes, I would say that, our women are probably some of the, if not the, the most, some of the most intelligent, clever, witty, some of the sharpest in the world. Some of the, so it can be some of the most humorous, some of the most fascinating, wonderful individuals, and even can have a sliver of romance to them when if they care to work at it or kindle such a thing. But alas, they don't. It's the average Jewish or Hebrew man is far more interested in someone who is first of all, I think that on average Jewish or Hebrew guys, or at least the kind of like the more like beta ones, we'd say we generally prefer like not me specifically at all, but they generally prefer kind of like women that are relative to them, like, I guess like petite or feminine or whatever. So it's like, it's like frickin' the, what's it called? You're not going to get that, you're not necessarily going to get that with Hebrew women, but so it's like they often turn to, I guess European, for the ones who are a bit more kind of like, a bit more like me, I guess generally end up a bit more with like European women. Oh, look, there's a mouse in Starbucks. Take a look. See that? A mouse. There's a mouse in Starbucks. Look. See that? That is a mouse in Starbucks. Don't you love New York hygiene? There he goes. All right. This is why you always go to Starbucks when you live in New York. There he goes. Oh,
skirting away under the table. Oh, he's back. There he is. He's digging food out of the crevices and eating it. There. Scampering around. You see that? There he goes. Kind of cute, yeah. It is kind of cute, yeah. It's a shame that it's probably diseased, because it isn't everything around here. You know, not just animals. The humans are also harbingers and carriers of illness as well. Yeah. Erev Rav. You're talking about Benjamin Netanyahu or Erev Rav, spiritually Amalekites. Man, that's very polar. Everything's very black and white in that. You got the spiritual Amalekites and the spiritual Jews. It doesn't leave much of a middle ground. It's you're with us or you're against us, and it's quite confining. But, what traits make one an Erev Rav? What are the signs you would look for? Kyle Rowland is Erev Rav, you say. Dennis Prager and Michael Savage. I kind of see what you're getting at. They're the anti-Judaism Jews who rule over us. Oh yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about. So yeah, I guess my parents probably would be classified as such, wouldn't they? As rabid atheists. Judas, you should be a mod now. I just figured out how to do it. Yeah. Jewish women in streams are right-wing Erev Rav. I hardly ever eat out anymore. Even fancy places make me sick. Yeah. Watch out. I remember one of my earliest memories of the wonders of New York cuisine. I must have been maybe 3 or 4 years old. I ordered Chinese food delivered to the house. My family did. My parents rather did. And the first dish, right at the top of the dish, right piled atop heaps of steaming rice, noodle, vegetable, and probably some sort of mock duck or, seitan or something like that. There was the latter half of a crispily cooked cockroach, a water bug, large cockroach-like insect. So yeah, it all began there, and this is the story of my wonderful experience. Like one time I was at an Asian fusion cuisine place on the Upper West Side, and there was a cigarette in my spring roll, and it wasn't a full cigarette either. It looked to be something like a cigarette butt cooked into the spring roll. That's something I will never forget. That I will never forget. Yeah, eating out is such a waste. It's a social ritual. Yeah, like honestly, that's what like women in big cities like to do, is like eat out or order food or something like that. It's like, no, cook your own food. And like silly men do that. Silly, vacuous, vapid-headed men. It's like, no, don't eat out. Don't drink out either. No, that's the thing. Is earlier tonight. Like I don't go to go to have drinks with anyone unless they're paying, because I have no interest in consuming alcohol at $12 a glass that you can buy a small bottle of that's like multiple types the size of for $12 also. So it's just ultimately a waste of money, and I just go with people because I enjoy socializing. It adds texture. Yeah, the cigarette adds texture to the spring roll. Yeah, drinking out is all right if you have only a bit. Yeah, exactly. It's good if you have like a drink. I'll have like a drink when I go out, but yeah, women and eating out is inseparable. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. In terms of the eternal consumer, the wham-in, the wham-on, the eternal consumer. It's just like, it just boggles my mind. Like do you want a black pill? I'll give you a black pill. All right. Well, before I do that, I just want to wrap up like the Jewish women thing. Yeah, so Judas are high. Basically, the fact of the matter is, Jewish guys are going for if they're a bit more kind of like of an extroverted like bold type, they'll generally go for women of European descent, who they viewed for varying sorts of reasons, or they'll go for women of East Asian descent or other Asian descents if they're perhaps a bit more of an INTP type or something like that. Maybe a bit more of someone of physically smaller stature, maybe one of the less athletic types, the slimmer types, and whatnot. Some of the shorter types generally, but to the extent that
there's nothing keeping Jewish men and Jewish women together. And as a matter of fact, I was just thinking about media, and it's like, what do you call it? Like, Broad City. I've watched the entire Broad City show. Like, I used to be in a relationship with, I used to sleep with one of the main people, one of the main whammy, who's like, the whole show, it's like, it's about them and their white boyfriends and their black boyfriends and their Latino boyfriends, and it's like, there's not the only portrayal of Jewish men, Hebrew men, in the entire show is when, aside from his very passing characters, the only thing I remember is they walk, and they all get the dirty eye for being like basically immodestly dressed women. And I mean, perhaps that's for the best, but it's because, to the extent there would be a Jewish guy there, he'd be a little nebbish loser, or some other, or a psychopath, or some moral deficient, or something like that, because that's how Jewish women in media like to portray us. And I was also just thinking about what's another example of this is who's that? The name of that? I was about to say the name of that fat woman. That wasn't nice. That's not nice of me. The name of that woman who she does the show Girls, Lena Dunham. Lena Dunham, like, likening Jewish men or Hebrew men to dogs. The literal animalization. I mean, that is how our women view us, isn't it? And then, we return the favor? No, we don't. And there's a chicken and egg as to where it started. But the fact of the matter is, the situation needs to be repaired for sure. But what was I talking about before that? Oh yeah, like, here's a black pill. Okay, here's the black pill. Like, every time that I think, like, no, like, everything will be okay because there, most people, I'll be like browsing through, like a YouTube comment section, and then I'll be interacting with like people who go to good schools, like very, very good schools, as well as like mid-level schools, but they come from, rather affluent backgrounds. These are people, for instance, who I went to prep school with, who I attended several of my programs or internships with, and, I talked to men of my, men of my socioeconomic background. And, some of them are Jewish, some of them are European descent, some of them are Asian descent, or Indian descent, or Arab descent, Persian descent. I'm thinking of numerous people that I'm friends with right now, many, many people. And I talk to these people, and, I flip through YouTube and other, like, website comment sections, and I'm like, okay, people are, I'm not, like, there's not necessarily, like, this might sound corny, but, like, capitalism will fall, or basically kind of like the soulless neoliberal consumer culture where we're all living for nothing, in, like, Neo-Elysium, will fall. Alright, and we're all just consumers, we're all just the world of us, of everyone just, consume, take out money, consume, rat race, be an employee, that world. I keep thinking, this will end, because these people, they want meaning and stuff, so that, like, white pills me. And then, I go to Twitter, which is the most, like, site that has, like, some of the most dissident opinions, that is, like, a major site, out of all of them, relative to, like, let's say, Twitter, or Instagram, I mean, God forbid, or Facebook, even. Facebook's like boomer territory, and even then before that, they were clamped down on edginess very hard from the beginning. I remember, back since when I was like 10 years old. So it was always very easy to report people, get them banned, etc. for any sort of thing that, an automated system registered as offensive. They were in a way kind of led the charge for this. But yeah, YouTube even, just type in the words like haul. Type in like haul, makeup haul, shopping haul, ASOS haul, sneaker haul, or like when these people, it's like these things where it's like, oh, we went out to a store and spent a bunch of money. We bought this, we bought that, we bought these makeups, that clothes, this, that, we bought this. They're just buying, they're just consuming. It's this, and then, I mean, there's some of it is literal gluttony, like in the sense of like food. Like there are those videos of just people eating food, and those are more popular a little bit east of here. But, even more tragic, I think, is you have like not the gluttony, but the avarice. It's the avarice. It's, it's like you're stuffing the spiritual void inside yourself with just bullshit, cheaply made bullshit that you'll like wear a few times and then throw out or leave in your closet, or take an Instagram photo with and then forget about. And this is being driven largely by like millennial women, career women, as well as women who have the propulsion of big loans, like big credit under them. They have credit cards. So it's like they can spend as much as they want right now and not worrying about it. Complaining on the internet is just another type of consumerism / capitalism. Really commodification of my personality, because I'm not sure if what I do on stream is my personality even. I think it's just, I mean, quite frankly, and I'm not saying this to be rude, because main reason ether is, it's sort of like a sounding chamber so that I can put a thought out there and I can have people who hopefully are as intelligent or more knowledgeable or more learned or but yeah, media companies themselves would be taxed. Yeah, I guess. I mean, the thing is, though, you say streaming is a commodification of one personality. Like, where does a personality even begin? You know, at the same time, one could almost say just like interaction. The minute I stepped out of the womb, my personality was being commodified. I say that I can be more legit here. This is more me than the me in, let's say, when I was going to prep school and people were talking about, oh, you know, I'm wearing this brand, I'm wearing that brand, you know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, look at me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I did this degenerate thing, I did that degenerate thing, you know, consume, you know, I watched this TV show, that's where it started out, is I watched this TV show, I watched that TV show, I watched this cartoon, I watched that cartoon, Drake and Josh, or like, you know, iCarly, all this shit. You know, if I may be so bold, I'd actually say that, see, it's almost like, I mean, something like you streaming, like something like this, I would say is the last thing from that as far as all the different, I mean, it would be considered that, but I'd say it would be the last thing from that compared to like even, because every conversation is commodified, every interaction is, here, take a look at that, that's wonderful. Every interaction is commodified. There's no break from it, there's no rest from it. There is no respite. Isn't that lovely? Yeah. Capitalism has erected its walls around us. You can't not consume. But it may be that that dissident right now begins where we can identify with our production. We can't escape capitalism. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing, is you can't escape capitalism except one way. The one way out is up. So right now, what I'm doing, and I don't know what everyone else is going to do, but you just ride the tiger, and then you hope the system just sort of accelerates to the degree, so much so to the degree that it crushes under its own weight. So, we Marxists now, maybe. And I mean, this is something that I think about. It's like, you know, to the staunch defenders of capitalism, it's like, I would almost go so, you know, in fact, I would. I've said before, you know, if we have to choose, you know, if you're, let's say you're looking at it from like a community-based, human-based, like kind of, I guess for lack of a better term, organically based take, as opposed to like a hyper-systems-based kind of like take. It's bureaucratic, I guess, take. Whether you're looking at it from the quote left wing or the quote right wing, ultimately, yeah, I think that the you know, what is better for the preservation of, I guess, the human spirit, if I had to choose between like the Marxist type deal and, you know, a capitalist type deal, I think in the long term, it's at least with a purely economically reductionist take, it would almost be, you know, with some sort of Marxist or communist or socialist type arrangement, it would be easier on both. It would be easier on, let's say, a tradition, the traditions of a society, and, you know, certain institutions, than, let's say, a capitalist thing would be, you know, which is counterintuitive, you know, because, but I almost feel like, you know, more tradness, as well as more like kind of left wing of the kind of like universal human type stuff was also preserved. If more of that would be preserved under the sort of like far left economic situation than under the present state of affairs, which just sort of crushes everything that can't be commodified. It doesn't crush it, but functionally speaking it does. And I know that's very dramatic language, but yeah. Did I sleep with Francesca Ramsey? No, not at all. But yeah, but lit. I do see what you're saying though, and I think that is a good point. When people say things like that, it's true, but it's like it annoys me because it's like if I can't be like legit here, where can I be? And I know where that is. It's when I'm in private or going out to have a drink or something like that with close friends of mine. And not just even that, like specific close friends of mine, specific ones, certain subsections of my close friends, almost all male. In fact, yeah. Liv Medley says hardly ever see Jews with Latinxes though. I see a lot of Jewish women with them. Oh, all the time. I don't see that many Jewish men with them. Let's see. The Indian food we had with David's roommate was good though. Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was good. Women translate eating out as an adventure and All About Me as an anime that I star in. That's funny. Talmud says if you have an expensive food versus an inexpensive food, you're supposed to eat the inexpensive food first. Okay, that's interesting. I totally support Manhattan being renamed Womanhattan. Oh, would you now? Would you now?
Rename Manhattan Womanhattan. 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 Rename Manhattan Woman.
Oh no, it's playing again.
Rename Manhattan.
Well, anyway, let's see. Judas can't join the whack packs when they have meals. Yeah. Let's see. Have I ever been drunk before, Babs? Yes, I have been drunk before, Lit Sigil. I have, several times. Not as many times as probably your average college boy, If you get a donation, it'll play out. If I get a donation from anyone, it'll play out loud. Just saying. At any point. At any time I'm streaming mobile like this, or even on my laptop, although that really doesn't matter. Anytime, I've rigged it, so anytime someone sends a donation to streamlabs.com/thebabscast, one word, no things, it'll blare out loud. Active producer identity as opposed to passive consumer identity. Organizing people according to their productive capacity in terms of quality is something like the definition of hierarchy. Yeah, but the thing is, hierarchy is, I think that to a degree the right almost gets it wrong. The right almost gets it wrong when they are talking about hierarchy, and I used to use that type of rhetoric a lot, and I still do, but I think that it's important to account, it's not one hierarchy, it's different axes of hierarchies. The point is ultimately, let's say from, I guess in the capitalist framework, you would want probably, I guess, class unity. You would want class unity. Similarly, you would want, other types of, socioeconomic and cultural, socioeconomic and cultural unity and spiritual unity to a degree. In order to deal with that, you need to realize that there are multiple hierarchies. First of all, you need to realize, stop imbuing hierarchies with an inherent moral thing. With moral virtue. Being stronger doesn't make you better. Being smarter doesn't make you better. Being, I think that that's a mistake, because people used to think, I'm a good man. I'm a good person. Whereas that kind of idea has been completely eliminated. No one's satisfied with, being a good person. People want to be a rich person, an interesting person, a quirky person, a creative person, a powerful person, an artistic person. And, these things are fine, but, ultimately, I think that these things should be separate, and that's why I find it bad when Luke Ford and Kyle are dangerously treading into the realm of conflating sort of random things with
sort of random axes. Like I could pick out an axis. I could pick out strength, or I could even divide it down and talk about different types of intelligence. I could be talking about how verbal, like verbal intelligence, equal morality, visual spatial intelligence, morality, visual memory, visual morality, the code intelligence, that's intelligence. What morality is, the ability to memorize, the ability to memorize is morality, etc. I think you can pick random things, and during different ages, people did this with different things. Strong. It used to be that strong was a moral, an inherent sort of moral good, And it's interesting the way this works. Why am I out again? Why not? Yeah. What is a good person if not a morally productive person? It's just economic terms applied sociologically. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Well, and it's like, where does this begin? I think a lot of people trace this back. Weber, at least, traces this back to the Protestant Ethic, which is a book. I read that when I was like, I think 13 and a half or something like that. Weber's Protestant Ethic and the Theory of Capitalism or something like that. And it really left a big impact on me. And I think that, the degree to which that push, that drive very, very much shapes this kind of like Atlanticist culture of today is something that ought not be overlooked. Good person. What is a good person, So I guess I think that, but I think that people should stop, people, like hierarchies should be acknowledged for the sake of civilization, but simultaneously, the cloth, the fabric that's woven, when all these different things come to intersect, that's what should be prized, and the fact that everyone has a part in this. Everyone, I used to see things from the past like wartime commercials, and yes, this is all idealization, this is all hyper romanticization, I'm aware. It's like you'd see these wartime commercials and it would be like everyone from the cobbler down the street to the woman raising her children to the man on the front lines fighting to the people in the arms factories producing to the farmers back home growing the food. It's like these people are all an important part of the effort. It's that's what one ought to strive for. That's what we should be aiming for. It's not at all the situation of, oh, well, there's this one hierarchy, and if you do bad on it, you're bad, and if you do good on it, you're good. Because that's anti-community. That's hyper systems based, it's like anti-society based, community based. That destroys what ultimately we as humans strive for is a crucial part of actuation. It's kind of like the final thing. Once you've got all your material ducks in a row, then there's that last little bit of actuation, but it's like we can't attain that because of the way, let's say, society is structured, at least here, or at least it's very hard. So what do? We fill the void with goodies and stuff. But let's see. Now note that you have to have a war for that kind of unity. Perhaps that is the case, Glib. Perhaps. Or if not even necessarily a war. I would even go so far as to say you need a common enemy or a conceptual enemy, or perhaps it's so simple as even needing, I guess, a frontier, or nature to conquer. So some sort of sublime, grand force or element of nature. Or some. That's why people like alien invasion films or zombie apocalypse films. That's part of it, at least. But let's see. So yeah, I guess I'm saying, and what was I talking about earlier? I guess I was talking about earlier, the ultimate black pill with capitalism is you've got tons of millennials who are just chomping at the bit to consume, and they even though they feel like there's an emptiness and something wrong with the system, they couldn't possibly conceive of it being, they're content with it because they have their goodies and they love their goodies. They love, The Bachelor or Kate Spade or whatever they're into. I don't know. Makeup tutorials and hauls and stuff like that. Yeah. Global warming fear, yes, indeed, glibly, and it tries to do that, and because they try to make it a human issue, it's like, oh, well, here's this universal humanist thing, so why don't we all get together and unite for this thing? And that's why I used to be into that kind of stuff, and I was super into that climate stuff, but ultimately, it's all for naught, because no one really ends up caring about it, and it just kind of falls apart, and it's too abstract, and the larger the collective you're trying to unify, the more difficult it's going to be, because what's the common denominator? And I mean, yeah, you could say, well, the common denominator is this bad thing's going to happen, but with things like that,
there are so many other factors preventing people from seeing the world in this way. You know, I guess inconvenient, as it were. It's an inconvenient truth. So it's not like it's something that would, provided people even, believe it is the truth. So it's not even something that would be able to have that power, provided there is, exactly what has been prescribed going on. So yeah, and something where people feel low on, and something where people feel low on traditional. That's true. And the problem is, so I guess the thing is, like, too many people are doing the hierarchy thing, and not enough people are doing the what do you call it thing? The thing of placing value upon different people and realizing that there are different hierarchies, and then on top of that, having some kind of idea relatively independent of that, which is, a goodness which people ought to aspire to. Yeah. Chris Alton and Menthol Gold, if you could just expand a little bit on what you're saying there, please go ahead. I'm actually going to go inside a store right now. I'm going to be interacting with people now, so if anyone wants to send a loud donation. Hello, sir. Thanks a lot. Take care. All right. Well, looks like my audience, they've got too tight of a grip on their shekels to have given a funny Streamlab donation during the course of my time in that Arab-owned institution. But I'm out, and I'm back on the street now. Well, just look at folk culture as differentiated from high culture. Okay, that's interesting. What about it? And I mean, there is an interesting interplay of both of those as well. High culture and folk culture, and the influences upon them. What's fascinating is when, let's say, a high culture from region A is influenced by a low culture from region B, which is something that happens, sometimes purely just sort of by chance or just purely for aesthetically driven reasons or whatnot. And things like that are interesting, No, you don't need Streamlabs to donate. You just need, or maybe you do, I don't know. You go to streamlabs.com/thebabscast, one word, and then you just and it'll have a thing there where you can donate, and it works, and it's secure. At least as secure as Streamlabs is. Yeah, I do have the option to enable Super Chat. The only thing worse than bureaucracy is automated bureaucracy. When sort of an algorithm deduces something in, like, your content to be, thank God I don't invest anything but my time in the internet, because it's like there are people who it's like they've built up quote like careers, and it's some of these are quite intelligent or creative people, but they were innocent, they were naive, they were unassuming, and they didn't realize that. I mean, first there was the big demonetization thing, the adpocalypse, where it's like all it took was a one Wall Street journal, or one sort of set, a set of journalists, starting I believe with the Wall Street Journal, going off about it, again and again. And it all took was one sort of coordinated stroke, and everything was these companies, these fucking companies just knee-jerk pulled out. It seemed very knee-jerk. But I mean, I don't know, it's just an oh my, pearl-clutching knee-jerk. Yeah. No, Super Chats I don't have Super Chats on my channel, I have Streamlabs. Yeah, controlled opposition. But, yeah, let's see. What does Menthol Gold say? People low on the hierarchy pole in the past had power within their local productive niches. Yeah, again, I totally agree with you there. I don't know. I would go into, if someone, oh wait, no, I don't have my card. No, that won't work. If I had shekels, I'd go into like a random pub and start talking to people and streaming it, but alas, no shekels. And I don't have my card right now. I just lost my credit or debit card, so I can't get the money out of my account. Regardless, but yeah, us from faraway offices. A man in the past, a man could affect change in his local world by merely deliberating with his neighbors. Now we are all subjects of an alien, long-range, impersonal system which throws its weight down on us from faraway offices. Yes, I agree. I totally agree with you there. Totally agree with you there. And it's just also murky and awful. And you know, this is the thing about scale. You know, when things scale up, this is kind of, you know, I can say, yeah, this is inevitability. And then I can say, you know, scaling is an inevitability. Global, things being globalized is inevitability. But, you know, globalized and hierarchicalized at one top sort of point, I guess, as it were. You know, is it just that way? Is the human nature just that way? Because I don't think it is. Because when such a situation occurs, well, let's look not even at humans right now. Let's look at simians. Let's look at chimps. So, I don't know that much about chimps, alright? There are some people who have, like, spent decades of their lives studying chimps, living with chimps, you know, like, plotting, you know, the genetic distances between various groups of chimps. I'm no chimp expert, anthropology guy, but I know that when, you know, there is one kind of, I guess, alpha male who's hoarding all the women as a harem and hoarding all the resources, you know, at a certain point, everyone else, you know, even though they may not necessarily have a reason to team up with each other outside of this, all the beta and gamma and delta male, whatever chimps, you know, all the loser chimps, or the have-not chimps, you know, the loser chimps, the marginalized loser chimps, basically, they end up, the marginalized loser chimps end up, what's it called? They end up rebelling, they revolt, they overthrow the fat cat, who at that point, you know, what is one against many, and you know, there's this sort of what do you call it? There's this sort of situation where you know, he is deposed. You know, the alpha chimp gorilla whatever is deposed, and you know, the goods are, I guess, to a degree not even redistributed equally necessarily at all, but redistributed in a new way. You know, there's a shattering of the status quo. Now the thing is, because you know, I guess as it were, like the well, let's go to humans, okay? Let's look at humans. Let's look at the New World, for instance. Let's look at concentration of power in Europe, because in Europe, power. I'm gonna get a bicycle. Okay, so there's this hyper concentration of power in the old world, basically, and you know, or at least it was perceived as such. I'm not sure to what degree that's actually the case, and now, you know, it might sort of be like, you know, greener on the other side, because it seems like in many ways things are more hyper concentrated now. But And in a way, would I rather be a serf or a wage slave? I feel like in many ways, the serfs, where you could say, oh well, it was practically slavery, da 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 da. But at the same time, I think that there are many things that the serf has that the wage slave lacks, the wage cuck lacks. So that's something that ought to be taken into account. Let's see what else. Let's see. What was I just talking about? Like I was talking about the chimps. I was talking about people growing dissatisfied with the status quo, specifically like men, certain men in certain mindsets, more specifically. But people growing dissatisfied with the status quo, and I am watching the road. That's all I do, baby. I've been biking in the city for quite a while, sometimes even helmetless like I am now. With car-bike collisions in the city. But, contrary to what many people think, cyclists are quite reckless and roguish in their ways, but cars treat cyclists as arguably less than pedestrians in many instances in the city. They'll just barge into them because you can basically get away scot-free with killing running through a cyclist with your automobile, legally speaking here. So there's not much to lose, even if you do hit and kill someone. Increasingly, this is changing, but I think it's nice. It's one of the most comfortable, sort of comfy neighborhoods in the city. New York City goes. It's clean, it's orderly. In some ways, it's very European. But what was I saying? The New World. So you have this hyper concentration of power and wealth and whatnot, and as in like literally, like these people, the monarch. So when you have a good monarch, it's really good, and the principal monarchy is I think quite a good one. Or same with aristocracy. But when you have a good monarch, it's good. When you have a terrible, monarch, who's no different from the quote elites of today, elites of any variety. Financial elite, media elite, etc. And that's all they really care about. So when you have an uncaring elite, a lake elite, revolt, they will shatter the status quo in the form of a literal monarch and his wife, as well as the whole New World situation, wherein this was basically a means by which the second and third and fourth sons of aristocratic or semi-aristocratic families, noble families, they would end the New World to seek there. These people displeased with the status quo, I guess them going to the New World and directing their efforts over there. That is, in my opinion, that combined with, the fact that not just those people, you also had aspirational people from the lower rungs of society, who were probably had certain traits that they exhibited fairly strongly. They were probably very aspirational. They were probably very open to new experiences and adventure. These people also, along with them, these were in many instances they ended up as indentured servants or crewmen, skilled workers, etc., coming to the New World with the aristocrats. So basically, you have that. So that's another type of situation, I guess, where it's another type of situation where there's the revolt against the alpha gorilla, and a forging of a new system. And then another situation that I'm thinking of this is like the modern day. But I'm thinking that it's not necessarily possible to do that, which is why I think, accelerationism is really the only way out. Because if someone tried to... There is no overthrowing the alpha gorilla today. Because the alpha gorilla, basically, the financial elite, they have money. And they can give people things. And they can give enough people things. Worst comes to worst. And it hasn't even come close to worst comes to worst. But they can give enough people enough things up into the point where... they will have, a loyal faction of people who are either staunchly of this. Additionally, technology. Think about modern surveillance technology. And those police officers and basically uphold, the rights of property owners everywhere. That's what focus on, is they think bigger than yourself, like a property owner. They will treat you very differently from how they'll treat you if you're some random schmuck who got mugged. Police will do it for just like a pension, just like being able to retire comfortably, and sort of a guaranteed place in the status quo. So I mean, if they'll do it for that, I mean, it's not even come to the point where it's like the elite are like in damage control mode. They're like, no, people want meaning. People want more than just to consume to enrich us. Oh no, what are we gonna do? We better give people who are willing to side with us stuff. No, it's not even gone close to that point. I don't think it even will. No one. It's really just all sort of. It's not gonna work. It's not going to work. Like the overthrow thing isn't going to work. Although there is that impulse within people that manifests itself. I'm not sure what will work, honestly. I think, like I said earlier, I think acceleration is probably the best bet. But there certainly is that sentiment welling up, because as the have-nots increase, and as the haves, and don't get me wrong, there's a reason why both the right and the left are so focused on the whole capitalist, libertarian, self-responsibility, where you are is solely a byproduct of, how hard you work, etc., or how good of a person you are. Shit. It's not. I mean, that's nonsense. Like I was saying earlier, think about all the millionaires and billionaires in, real estate and business who are less intelligent than the people who, aren't earning that much. Maybe they earn at most $1 million a year or something like that. Even that's rare. Probably earning a few $100,000 at most. And even less in some instances. The academics, the doctors, the lawyers. Those people are far smarter in many instances and work far harder in that discipline, devoting IQ and time to that. But meanwhile, if you know what you're doing, anyone who's watching the stream right now can take out a loan, buy a property in the right place, and just go into real estate, and that's a very straightforward way to make money. And suddenly, will you become virtuous? I don't know. I just think that and that right there shows it. Maybe that's what everyone ultimately. I mean, everyone couldn't do it because then the system would collapse. But it's maybe it's ultimately the goal is the full actuation isn't about my job, my career. It's about full actuation is about what can you do once you retire. But it's why do you have to do that once you retire? I mean, it's just absurd. The whole thing is just so nonsensical, and the current state of affairs, it is corrupt, it is broken, it is bankrupt. I vehemently disagree with Ford and Rowland. While I do have a fairly determinist take on what's going on, I don't think that Kyle's quite hitting the mark. He's a great arguer, a great debater, and he makes a lot of very good points, but the most virtuous people are the wealthiest people, because wealth makes one virtuous. Yeah, I mean, KMG was right when he said sentiments and tautology. Although I would broadly say that, all in all, rhetorically speaking, Kevin won that debate. Logically speaking, Kyle won that debate. But I'd still say that, my heart is with KMG. My heart is not with Kyle in that. Not at all. I mean, just imagine your heart being with Kyle in that. I mean, it's just awful. Right, there's something going on over there. But yeah, it's, imagine what kind of a miserable person I'm not saying Kyle is a miserable person. I understand Kyle espousing those views, but imagine just a person who would just go along and be yes, Kyle is, that's the view that's what I want. that's what I want. I mean, Kyle is just maybe even kind of almost describes the state of affairs quite well often, but his prescriptive, what he prescribes is just so freaking uninspiring. I want a world where people are unified, where community exists, where art is art has passion behind it, rather than just a design to make money. Sorry. He's not saying wealth makes one virtuous. No. I know he's not saying. I'm sorry. I wasn't accurately characterizing his views there. I agree. He isn't saying that wealth makes one virtuous, but he's talking about. Let me rephrase that. He's talking about earning wealth. He said, earning wealth and the traits that lead to wealth accumulating. He was saying, and then he says, well, he doesn't outright even say that, but it's like he's talking about He says, well, why are billionaires good? He says because they're, self-made. So I understand what he's saying. He's not just talking about what's it called? Yeah, he's saying virtue makes you wealthy. Yeah, he's saying virtue makes you wealthy. Yeah. Well, that's what I was trying to sort of express. I did it badly. I kind of ended up sounding like I was strawmanning him. But no, I do understand that that's where he's coming from. Exactly. That virtue makes one wealthy. But that's what I was getting at earlier when I was talking about, who's wealthy right now and getting wealthy in the present circumstance. I guess some of the most morally virtuous people I know, they aren't prospering in the current situation. Some of the most intellectually ambitious people I know, they aren't prospering either. It's the kind of person who, wants to and has the time to and has the capital to, or not necessarily in some instances, do things like become a landlord. Those aren't the most, I can guarantee you, in New York City, the average landlord makes more than the average academic. If you average everything out, I can guarantee you the average landlord in New York City makes more than the average academic. I don't know what kind of average. There are 3 different types of average, man. I'm bad at math, but it's like the type of average I'm thinking of is where you kind of add them all together and slice it up. But I'm sure by other types of averaging that would probably be the case. But yeah, I think that is the average landlord more virtuous than the average academic? I don't know. That's just a different path that they chose to. They chose to, I guess, play that game. Yeah. I can't admit they have anything to do with one another. Yeah. Yeah, Chris Alton, yeah, I agree. It is true and untrue. You said, I think what he means is that virtue correlates with high social status. See, the thing is, though, there's so many different, axioms. There's so many different axes of what constitutes social status. And, what type of social status? Social status is, okay. So, Donald Trump, full disclosure, Donald Trump, him as an individual, probably his net worth is higher than, let's say, I don't know, my nuclear family, But let's say my mother, would say, who is this nouveau riche boor? And Trump wouldn't be necessarily invited to the same parties as a Babs's mom type. So it's interesting. It's really interesting, even though he is the president of the United States, because what would make one high status? Is it money? Is it there's so many different axes for this. It's really hard to figure. It's really hard. Kyle and I want to have a big conversation where I sort of flesh things out with Kyle, and I talk about there are different elites. Okay, Kyle says the elite has lost confidence in themselves. I don't think that the Koch brothers and Carlos Salim have lost confidence in themselves, okay? I don't think that, people down on Wall Street have lost confidence in themselves, no. I think that people in media and academia have lost confidence in themselves. A lot of people who are lawyers, or maybe doctors even, they have lost confidence in themselves. But those aren't the top, the top of the crust financial elite, not even close, so... It's interesting. All right. Yeah, Chris Alton, absolutely not, but your mom couldn't become president either. It's exactly Chris Alton. See, you're on the money with that. It's so interesting the way that things like this work. It really, really is. And that's why I think that, saying, recognize hierarchy is so reductionist to the point of being harmful. There are hierarchies, that can be, I guess, like, quote, objective. As far as anything is objective, people can objectively tease out these different hierarchies, through soft or hard means. But, it isn't hierarchy, it's hierarchies. And, one can be a super low ranker and a super high ranker in many ways simultaneously. And, that's why I think it's important, when people start talking and saying the elite this, the elite that, it's like, I don't know. I think it's a bit off the mark. Hold on. Thanks a lot, sir. Have a nice night. Kyle is incredibly important. Okay. Yeah, Persian drum, I agree. KMG and Kyle's lively exchange a few days ago was indeed memorable. Chris Alton, I 100% agree with you. Kyle is incredibly important to have on the show, in your opinion, because he is the only person defending anything close to the status quo. I think it's really interesting stuff. Man, the whole thing is so interesting. And that ultimately is probably my biggest draw to the Luke Ford verse. It's sort of the anthropological, sociological thing, man. I just can't get away from that type of thinking, because it's so addictive. My brain just like runs, it has those ruts ran deeply into it. It's like the whole thing to me is kind of a microcosm, and that's why I place so much import upon these individual actors, perhaps more than I should, is because to each moving part to me, while these are different people with their own opinions and quirks and personalities, these people they represent archetypes. This is a microcosm. It's very interesting. Sorry, give me just 1 second. I'm just going to take my boots off, if you'll give me a moment. Kyle is the final boss, Bugman. Bug Chad. Bug Chad. Kyle's got a bit more liveliness to him than the average Bugman, I would say. Bug Chad, I like that. KMG and Kyle's lively exchange a few days ago was memorable. Yeah, I agree, it was memorable. It's interesting because, Donald Drumpf isn't getting invited to, Donald Drumpf isn't getting invited to, the latest museum and gallery openings, or, to go with Anna Wintour to the Met Museum, for instance, for, their opening of their
like costume shows or something like that. They're fashion shows and stuff. In fact, they're probably talking shit about him there. But at the same time, he's the president of the country. It's really interesting. The sort of intersecting hierarchies. Oh, bother. So yeah. Un momento, please. Un momento, por favor. My coconut juice. Well, I think I might go live from the computer. I just got hit with just a Persian Drum says Luke Ford reviews the news. Brundle, Jen, and you review Luke's reviews. I'm thinking of doing a podcast reviewing the collective reviews of Luke's reviews. That's good. Not only is it very meta, but it's lovely. I think it's worthwhile. I think you should. Persian Drum, I'd love to actually have you on my channel sometime. You can just email me at babylonianhebrew@gmail.com. Yeah, I just got hit with sort of this, like a little pang of, a wistful pang of kind of depression, thinking about some things. And I think I might shut the stream off in a bit, but Menthol Gold says, perhaps there are virtues implicated in rising to the top, but it's possible to lose them when you get there. Yes, I agree. I think there are certain virtues as well, things like high conscientiousness, sort of things that I guess one could call like a good business sense or business acumen. Yeah, the chat obviously hates Kyle, yeah, but he's uplifting from a mainstream perspective when compared with Kevin. Yes, I agree, Chris Alton. I'm curious, Chris Alton, where are you coming from? Are you, because there are all different sorts of people in the Luke Ford verse, are you sort of more to the left or to the right or to the center? Are you sort of more a capitalist or a leftist or feudalist or whatever? I don't know, it's interesting. But yeah, I agree. I think that Kyle, and I think that Kyle, I loved Kyle versus Monique Bibler. I loved Kyle versus Kevin Michael Grace, and I loved Kyle versus Brundlefly. I think that those are interesting discussions that really need to be had. Once an elite becomes ineffective in producing good outcomes, they ought to be disposed of. You don't wait for people to take care of you. Either they are or they aren't. I agree. But this is the thing, is like the present state of affairs, there's no need for noblesse oblige. They've completely done away with the pretense of the idea that not only that the haves ought to give a shit about the have-nots, but it's just that, that anyone ought to give a shit about anyone. It's not great, is it? Anyway, I guess I'll just be resuming this in a bit. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just feeling kind of down right now. It's been nice talking to everyone. Take care. Alright, well, I'm making potatoes, hash browns. And that concludes the stream. Have a nice night, everyone.